Tinggal ambil kok, lama-lama. Macet ya, piring.
Ladies Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony is going to start. Before we start, this
Recording in
event
progress.
also streamed on YouTube, and the link will be sent on the chat columns and WhatsApp group. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain to you about the background of this event. Student Executive Board of Sharia Economic, Faculty of Economic and Business, Sharia Hidayatullah Islamic State University, held the largest annual event for student major in Sharia Economic, namely Sharia Economic Festival, with the main theme, the revival of Sharia Economic. One of the events that are held in the Sharia Economic Festival is an international webinar. This event presents speakers from various Islamic universities from various countries and arranges discussions on how the potential of Islamic economics in the post-COVID-19 recovery. The theme of the event is optimizing the potential of Islamic economy in post-COVID economic recovery with the topics of philanthropy, productive zakat impact on economic in post-COVID recovery, Islamic capital market, halal lifestyle, redefining our relationship with wealth, halal tourism, Islamic banking and non-banking financial institution development in pandemic COVID-19 case of Pakistan, building Sharia economic ecosystem towards well-being, development of Islamic banking in Morocco and North Africa, digital economy. To maintain order and comfort during the event, the following rules and technical procedure for the implementation of the events are: first, participants have registered with the committee and fill out the participant form. Second, access to Zoom will be open 15 minutes before the event starts. Third, please make sure the visual and audio connection on the device used to access the Zoom meeting is well connected. Fourth, participants are expected to change the Zoom account name with the following format: institution underscore full name. For example, UIN Jakarta underscore Rizky Marisa. Fifth, participants are expected to be able to activate the camera and use the virtual background that has been provided by the committee during the event. Participants who gain access to Zoom must dress modestly and behave politely during the webinar. 7. When the event has started, participants are expected to turn off the microphone or mute the microphone during the event process unless requested by the MC. 8. Participants are expected to not leave the meeting room. 9th, participants who want to ask questions can raise their hand first and activate the microphone when the MC invited them, or can send their questions on the chat room column. 10th, participants are expected to take screenshot of each material presentation as proof of attendance on the attendance link. 11th, participants are prohibited to making noise that can cause the event to be unfavorable. 12th, maintain order during the implementation of activities. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen, before the beginning of the whole session of the opening ceremony, let me introduce myself as the master of ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rizky Marisa. It's such an honor for me to be here today and lead this prestigious event. To all participants and invitation, on behalf of all the committees, we are delighted to welcome you to Sharia Economic Festival with the main theme, the revival of Sharia economic. It is also an honor to us to introduce and welcome the guests at our event today. The Honorable Mr. Azim Kidwai, Chairman of the National Zakat Foundation Worldwide. Second, the Honorable Mr. Rianto Sofyan, BSEE MBA, Head of the Indonesian Association of Islamic Economics, IAEI Halal Industry and Creative Industry Development Division. The Honorable Mr. Dimajani, CEO Alami Fintech Indonesia, that will be represented today by her COO. The Honorable Mr. Dr. Syed Muhammad Abdul Rahman Shah from University of Engineering and Technology in Taxila, Pakistan. And all the invitation and participants, welcome to the Sharia Economic Festival. First of all, let's say thanks to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Lord of the world, the Lord of the universe, who has been giving us guidance, happiness, health, and mercy, so we can attend and participate in this event without any obstacles, even though we are all in this still in pandemic situation. We should be confident to fight this with our creativity, and praise and salutation always upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the best figure of this universe. So all participants and invitation. Before we start our event today, allow me to read several sequences of our agenda. The first agenda is opening. The second agenda is international webinar about halal lifestyle, redefining our relationship with wealth by Mr. Azim Kidwai, the chairman of National Zakat Foundation Worldwide. The second agenda is international webinar, strengthening Islamic banking in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery by Mr. Dr. Syed Muhammad Abdul Rahman Shah from University of Engineering and Technology, Taxila, Pakistan. The third agenda is international webinar about halal tourism by Rianto Sofyan, BSEE MBA, Head of Halal Industry and Creative Industry Development. The fifth agenda is international webinar about Fintech Sharia by Mr. Hazra Sandityo, co-founder and CEO Alami Fintech Indonesia. And the last is prayer and closing. All blessed participant and invitation. Before we begin this event, let's us reciting Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. May Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala make this event beneficial for all of us. Now we are going to watch the sponsors video. For the documentation team, you can take the lead.
bahkan takut menyampaikan gagasan? Ingin membuat perubahan, tapi tidak tahu cara memulainya? Gimana sih memotivasi tim supaya solid? Atau kamu pernah merasa di titik keraguan apakah dirimu layak memimpin atau tidak? Keraguan, ketakutan, dan kebingungan bisa datang kapan saja. Lalu, harus gimana? Cara mencari solusi belum pernah juga dipelajari di sekolah atau kuliah. Saatnya kamu belajar kepemimpinan. Pemimpin.id hadir sebagai tempat untuk mengembangkan kapasitas diri dan belajar kepemimpinan. Menjadi teman untuk mencari solusi, berinovasi, dan berkontribusi. Bersama Pemimpin.id, kita belajar untuk bertumbuh, memompa semangat untuk saling berbagi, dan menebar manfaat dengan saling memberdayakan. Karena kami percaya, semua orang adalah pemimpin. Indonesia membutuhkan lebih banyak pemimpin baik seperti kamu. Yuk, belajar bersama Pemimpin.id. Temukan kami di platform media sosial favoritmu.
Dengan kemajuan teknologi saat ini, berbagai kebutuhan manusia dapat terpenuhi secara efektif dan efisien. Aplikasi smartphone menjadi hal yang tidak terlepas dalam kehidupan sehari-hari kamu. BBO hadir untuk memenuhi berbagai aspek kebutuhanmu. Ada apa saja di dalam BBO? BBO Events, cocok untuk kamu yang gak mau ketinggalan tentang event terbaru. BBO Jobs, cocok untuk kamu yang mencari pekerjaan. Kalau kamu yang suka belanja dan cari makan, semuanya ada di toko BBO dan BBO To Go. Semua ini bisa kamu bayar menggunakan BBO Pay, termasuk tagihan pulsa, internet, listrik, dan lainnya. Semuanya ada di BBO. Download sekarang.
Ketika kita ingin yang terbaik, hati dan pikiran kita malah dibuat jungkir balik. Ketika menginginkan ibadah dan finansial bisa selaras, mereka bilang gak akan bisa pas. Ketika ingin bebas dari riba, gak mungkin bisa lepas penuhnya. Bahkan jauh lebih riba katanya. Gak doyan bunga dibilang gak realistis. Punya rekening bank syariah dianggap gak praktis. Malahan bisa-bisa menghambat flow bisnis. Tapi apa kita akan berhenti dan menyerah gitu aja? Kita bisa pilih untuk maju terus, tetapkan ikhtiar di jalan yang lurus. Kini, ketenangan bermuamalah ada di depan mata. Ibadah dan finansial kini jalan beriringan, dan kesempatan meraih keberkahan dalam bertransaksi ada di genggaman. Hijrah Bank, tanpa riba, tanpa ribet.
Penciptaan kesejahteraan bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia adalah cita-cita kemerdekaan dan amanat perjuangan pendiri negeri. Namun setelah lebih dari 7 dekade merdeka, bebas dari kemiskinan dan keterbelakangan masih menjadi mimpi bagi puluhan juta rakyat negeri ini. Akar kemiskinan sejatinya bukanlah pada lemahnya si miskin, namun lebih pada struktur ekonomi dan politik yang tidak berpihak kepada si miskin. IDEAS, Institute for Demography and Poverty Studies, berdiri pada 2016 di bawah naungan Yayasan Dompet Duafa untuk berkhidmat pada kepentingan masyarakat Indonesia, khususnya masyarakat miskin dan marginal, dengan melakukan analisis kritis terhadap pembangunan dan kebijakan publik berbasis keindonesiaan dan keislaman. Analisis IDEAS berpijak pada keyakinan bahwa isu kemiskinan tidak dapat diselesaikan hanya dengan pendekatan individual, namun juga harus dengan pendekatan struktural. Dengan perspektif demikian, maka bidang kajian IDEAS terentang dari kemiskinan dan kesenjangan, kesehatan dan pendidikan, pembangunan pertanian dan pedesaan, perencanaan kota dan lingkungan hidup, keuangan negara dan kebijakan makroekonomi. Analisis IDEAS dipublikasikan dalam 6 seri kajian utama, yaitu Indonesia Poverty and Inequality Report, Agriculture and Rural Development Report, Urban and Sustainable Development Report, Indonesia Pro-Poor Budget Review, Indonesia Economic and Social Development Review, Islam, Society and Social Change Review. Hanya dengan dialektika yang bervisi, kita dapat berharap masa depan yang lebih cerah untuk setiap anak negeri. Hanya dengan dialektika tanpa henti, kita dapat berharap penanggulangan kemiskinan menjadi arus utama kebijakan pembangunan negeri. IDS, Institute for Demography and Poverty Studies, menuju keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia.
Ketika kita ingin yang terbaik,
Assalamualaikum
hati dan
warahmatullahi
pikiran kita
wabarakatuh.
malah dibuat
Terima kasih
balik.
untuk panitia beserta
Ketika
jajarannya
menjalankan
sudah
ibadah dan
bekerja sama
finansial
dengan
tidak
Ines
selaras,
Kosmetik. Salam
mereka
horor
bilang
untuk
gak akan
materi
bisa
yang sangat
pas.
luar biasa dengan tema
Ketika ingin
optimism
bebas
dan
dari
potensi
riba,
aktivitas syariah ekonomi in fast COVID ekonomi recovery. Pertama-tama, izinkan saya memperkenalkan diri. Perkenalkan nama saya Novi, saya selaku perwakilan dari PT Kosmetik Atama Super Indah atau sering disebut dengan Ines Kosmetik. Di sini saya akan memaparkan apa itu Ines Kosmetik. Ines Kosmetik adalah salah satu brand kecantikan lokal yang 100% diproduksi di Indonesia, tepatnya di Jawa Timur 1998 silam. Dibantu oleh pakarnya kecantikan dari Belanda, yaitu Mr. Robert Han, sehingga Ines eksis 23 tahun di Indonesia, dengan ratusan item produk Ines Kosmetik yang sudah didistribusikan ke seluruh Indonesia. Untuk Ines Kosmetik sudah mengantongi sertifikat halal serta BPOM dengan misi mempercantik wanita Indonesia dengan kulit yang sehat dan ideal, sehingga bisa bersinergi positif ke sekelilingnya. Dan saya juga perwakilan Ines mengajak teman pembelajar agar selalu care terhadap kondisi kulit, apalagi dalam kondisi pandemi seperti ini. Untuk produk Ines meliputi make up, salah satunya bisa dilihat dari tayangan video tadi. Kita ada Volumilizer Eyebrow Mascara, di mana Volumilizer Eyebrow Mascara yang sudah mengandung vitamin A, E, dan sunflower oil untuk mempercantik alis teman-teman secara praktis bisa dipakai oleh kaum wanita. Dan kita juga ada perawatan mingguan skincare, yaitu kita terlihat dari tayangan video tadi, kita ada clay masker dan peel off mask yang sudah mengandung oil absorber dan film puting untuk mengangkat kotoran terdalam di pori-pori dan mengencangkan kulit. Bagus sekali untuk perawatan mingguan yang bisa dipakai oleh kalangan general. Dan kita juga ada perawatan body care yang bisa dipakai oleh kalangan general. Sudah pasti untuk webinar yang sangat luar biasa pada pagi hari ini, kami memberikan voucher belanja dari Ines Kosmetik, di mana voucher bisa ditayangkan oleh panitia dan bisa di-screenshot oleh seluruh partisipan untuk pembelanjaan secara jalur pribadi. Dan Ines juga bisa dilihat di e-commerce kami, yaitu JJID, Lazada, Tokopedia, bahkan e-commerce lainnya. Dan bisa di-download di aplikasi kita melalui Play Store, My Ines. Dan jangan lupa kepoin, follow IG, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube-nya @Ines Kosmetik, karena banyak sekali produk-produk Ines Kosmetik, produk yang di-launching di 2021 ini. Sudah pasti untuk webinar yang sangat luar biasa ini juga, saya minta izin kepada panitia, saya akan memberikan nomor saya melalui kolom chat. Barangkali ada teman pembelajar ingin berkonsultasi secara gratis, mencari make up yang tepat, perawatan kulit yang tepat, atau cara menggunakan voucher, bisa melalui jalur pribadi. Nah, demikian seputar Ines Kosmetik. Semoga bermanfaat. Lebih dan kurang saya mohon maaf. Saya tutup. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. We would like to express our appreciation and gratitude to all of sponsorship and media partner who has generously helped us to make this event come true. Here are our sponsor: Pegadaian, BBO, Ines, Bank Mega Syariah, Dompet Duafa, ACT, Bank BTN Syariah, Inisiatif Zakat Indonesia, BMT Hidayatullah, Hijrah Bank, Ideas, And here are our media partner, HMPS Perbankan Syariah, Event Jakarta, Event Nasional, Infokopedia, Info Lomba, Kampus Update, Acara Kampus, and Enjoy Tasik. Before we move to the next agenda, please activate your camera for the documentation session. For the documentation team, you can take the lead. To all the participants, please activate your camera for the documentation session.
Okay, please to participant for turn on camera. Because we will take the picture. Okay, slide 1. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Slide 2. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2, 3. Next. 1, 2, 3. Next slide. 1, 2. Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived to the most awaited agenda of this event, the international webinar. There will be 4 speakers and I will introduce them one by one. First speaker, Mr. Azim Kedwai. Second speaker, Mr. Dr. Syed Muhammad Abdul Rahman Shah from Department Basic Science, Taxila. Highest qualification, PhD Islamic Banking and Finance, MS Islamic Banking and Finance, MSc Economics, MA Islamic Studies, Fazil Idars I Nizami. Specialization, Islamic Law of Business Contract, Islamic Monetary Econ, Islamic Banking and Finance, International Economics, Iqbaliyat. And third speaker, Mr. Rianto Sofyan, BSEE MBA, offered over 39 years in hotel and property business since 1992. Over 29 the past year has focused on hospitality and tourism Muslim-friendly business and successfully developed a management and transformation strategy to apply the halal or Sharia compliance concept, maintain inclusiveness that can be accepted by all market segments, contribute to business growth. In 2012, he was appointed as a strategic partner of the Ministry of Tourism, Republic of Indonesia in developing halal tourism. And in 2016, appointed as the head of the Halal Tourism Development Acceleration Team, directly under the Minister of Tourism of the Republic Indonesia. He received several awards, including from the Deputy Minister Land, Infrastructure, Transport, and Tourism in Japan in 2014. President of the Republic Indonesia in 2019, and also recognized as the 500 who made the Islamic economy by Islamica 500 Forbes magazine. And the fourth speaker is Mr. Hazra, COO and co-founder of PT Alami Fintech Sharia, a seasoned professional in financial service industry who envisioned leveraging technology to boost Islamic finance. Sorry for my mistake. Mr. Azim Kidwai is the Chief Executive Officer for Mercy Mission UK and is a social entrepreneur who has spent the last decade in Islamic philanthropy, from building a global network of zakat agency to advising the United Nations. Mr. Azim has been able to fuse classical spirit of social finance with contemporary governance structures, local understanding, and human psychology to achieve optimal impact. And before I give to the moderator, I'll introduce our wonderful moderator, Mrs. Nur Hidayah, SAG, SAMA, PhD. Ms. Nur Hidayah, PhD, is an associate professor at the Faculty of Economic and Business, UIN Jakarta. Hold a bachelor's degree in Islamic law from the Faculty of Sharia and Law, UIN Jakarta. Bachelor's degree in economic from the Terbuka University, majoring in management, MA Islamic law, economics from Postgraduate UIN Jakarta. MI in Islamic Political Economy from the University of Durham, UK, and PhD in Indonesia Islamic Study from University of Melbourne, Australia. He teaches in undergraduate, master, and doctoral program and has conducted research for over 20 years. Most of her research focuses on Islamic studies, Islamic law, Islamic economic, gender, and empowerment, leading the editorial of the Al-Iqtisad Journal, a nationally accredited journal, Sinta 2, the associate editor at Ahkam Journal, Scopus Index Journal, and associate editor at the Andragogy Journal, Ministry of Religion, Sinta 3. She has published tons of scientific works in the form of book, scientific papers, accredited journal, and also win various internationally and nationally that I can mention one by one. Currently, she is appointed as the head of the Master Program in Islamic Banking and Finance, FEB UIN Jakarta 2021 until 2023. She is also the chairperson of the organizer of the Annual International Conference on Law and Justice, Faculty of Sharia and Law UIN Jakarta 2018 until present, and active in several community service activities. Before we start, I will remind you to fill in the attendance link in the chat box and WhatsApp group before this event ends, and take screenshot of each material presentation as proof of attendance in the attendance link. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Nur Hidayah, SAG, SAMA, PhD. So, Ms. Nur Hidayah, you may have your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Master Ceremony, Ms. Rizky Marsha. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'du. Rabbi surahli sadri wa yasirli amri wahlul uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Distinguished speakers, distinguished participants, I would like to welcome you all to the international webinar, the second day, conducted by the Faculty of Economic and Business, UIN Syarif Hidayatullah Jakarta. Without further ado, today we will have 4 international webinars. So we would like to start with the first webinar with the topic Halal Lifestyle, Redefining Our Relationship with Wealth, with the speaker from Mr. Aziz Kidwai, the chairman of the National Zakat Foundation worldwide, as has been introduced by the Master of Ceremony, that Mr. Azim Kidwai is the chairman of the National Zakat Foundation worldwide. So his topic today is quite relevant if we look at the current COVID-19 pandemic that have already reshaping our life and also make us as Muslim rethinking about our lifestyle, whether we have already follow the Sharia guideline that we have to consume something which is already put it as legal, as halal and tayyib. Because as we know that COVID-19 pandemic has been triggered by the overconsumption of the food even though it is said in Islam as illegal or halal or haram or illicit. So hopefully by this kind of pandemic we can learn the best lesson that we as human would have to treat the nature in a very well manner in order to have a very sustainable worldwide and also sustainable environment, so we can continue our life without further pandemic in the future. Without further ado, I would like to welcome Mr. Azim Kidway for the topic of halal lifestyle, redefining our relationship with wealth. So, Mr. Azim Kidway, time is yours. Please.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Is it possible for the MC to open up my sharing options?
Yes, operator, can you make a multiple share for the sharing screen so Ms. Azim Kidway can share his PowerPoint in the Zoom? Okay, you can. Yeah. Okay, before you start, I would like to remind that your time is 30 minutes for the presentation at the maximum, and then 10 minutes for the question and answer, Mr. Azim. Thank you.
Okay, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. And alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. I'd like to start by thanking the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share some thoughts, ideas, and reflections on this issue of halal lifestyle. We see this as a very topical issue that's being spoken about, especially in industry. It's becoming a very commercial conversation. We see this as something that is definitely of interest to countries and companies from across the world, and there's a keen interest in better understanding the Muslim customer and the idea of halal. Now, what I wish to speak about today is for us all to take a real step back about what is halal, what is the implications of halal in the way that we do business, both domestically and internationally, and could halal actually be something that we need to revise and revisit. So that's my intention from today, inshallah, to just share with you some thoughts on that. So what we're going to talk about is, what is seen as a halal lifestyle, then looking at the role of wealth and a wealthy lifestyle, and then there'll be an opportunity for Q&A. I intend to speak for about half of my time and then make the opportunity available for the rest of the time. So what is a halal lifestyle? Well, much has been spoken about this idea of a green economy or a green dollar. And this was, I guess, before ESG and all the environmental conversations, but the idea of a halal economy, and really on a practical level, what does that mean? What value does it bring? And really, how should the quote-unquote Muslim customer be engaged? I remember 10 years ago, I attended an event at the University of Oxford, and there was a former prime minister of a Muslim country, I won't mention which, and he was asked by the moderator that what did he understand as a halal finance in this particular case, and he had been a former finance minister, and he said, giving Muslims what they want. And that's a very interesting response, because that's what we're seeing globally, responding to the want versus the responding to the need. And that's where there is a need to recalibrate and really reflect on, it's not necessarily what Muslims want, it's more reflecting on what does Allah want for Muslims or for people generally, but how do Muslims respond to that? So the question is then, what is a halal lifestyle? It's an interesting conversation, because actually, is it with a view of saying that actually, when you're reflecting what is a halal lifestyle, there's so much effort to make everything halal today, right? And actually it's thinking about this in many different ways. So I just have some interesting examples here of what is reflected and projected to us as that what could be acceptable. There's a funny can here that you can see. It's a Chinese export of pork to Algeria. And as you can see, it says halal on it, right? So in the interest of selling, in the interest of commercial, opportunities, people are willing to put halal onto anything, just to get a sale. There's a picture here, for example, of a slum, and you can see that there's like 8 people living in a 6-foot room. Now, is this a halal lifestyle where you think that these are migrant laborers that are working in building the towers that we see in the GCC today? Now, is it a halal lifestyle for those people that are building these towers and see that their money is perfectly reasonable and perfectly halal, but they're building it with slave labor, right? Is that something that is halal for Muslims to do, to oppress other people for their own financial gain? We have so many other things now, in especially in Western societies. You see the normalization of homosexual relationships. You see the normalization of the most bizarre and interesting ways of looking at hijab. It's all that this is the new halal, for example. But in all truth, it serves no purpose. Then you can say, well, okay, maybe those are extreme measures, but then what is a lifestyle that is halal? And that's different. So there's one thing, what's a halal lifestyle? But then this question, what is a lifestyle that is halal? And then this is an interesting conversation because, today we see lots of wealth and money coming into Muslim hands. More than ever before, Muslims are probably richer than they've ever been in their history. And you think, well, what do they do with that wealth? What do they do with that wealth, and how will they, what would they willing to do to acquire that wealth? These are a new phenomenon that we're seeing across the world. You look at the growth of wealth in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Brunei, and across the GCC. It's wealth being generated at any cost, and that's something that we should be careful about. That the wealth that we make should be reflective of our values, and it's not just about saying, well, that specific transaction is halal, but rather what was the story behind that specific transaction. So yes, it may be halal for you to buy a car, like buy a Ferrari, or go and stay in Burj Al Arab, and you could spend $20,000 on a night in a room, no problem, if you have the means to do that. Where you see an unprecedented rise in wealth in the hands of Muslimin. So this question of halal lifestyle is very interesting, because actually the way that often we are seeing images projected to us in the Muslim context, they're actually very far from what is from the spirit of our tradition in the first place. So these are more personal questions for individuals to think about as they're seeking to serve these economies. Is that how are they creating value in the economy, and how does that value actually represent alignment to their values, their principles, and where they're from? Progress doesn't necessarily mean building the biggest towers, driving the newest cars, and purchasing the most luxury assets in the world. Because if it's done with the view that it's done at the cost of individual values, then actually it's of little value to us as a community. So what we need to do is need to really have some self-reflection and reevaluate our priorities, that as people interested in the halal, quote unquote, the halal economy, looking at halal lifestyle, we say, well, what is important to us? How should we better serve those markets where halal is important? And you can see the diversity in that, because obviously countries in which they're Muslims is unprecedented. So you obviously have countries where they're Muslim majority countries, like in Asia, parts of Africa and the Middle East. And then you also have a growing number of Western countries where Muslims are increasingly important minority, and a minority group actually has a market opportunity in of itself. So for example, if you come into the UK or America or Australia, you'll see major commercial opportunities around Muslim holidays like Ramadan. You'll see offers in the supermarkets. You'll see many things that are done by retailers to attract the Muslim customer around Muslim holidays, around Eid, for example. But we've got to really look at, are we as a community only about consumerism? Is the only thing that is of value to us is what we can consume? And one of the interesting reflections you can have is, if you pick up a newspaper, or if you were to read a newspaper in many a Muslim country, or a country in which there's many Muslims, unfortunately you find that the largest level of engagement is around consumerism. There's more adverts for just buying things than in any other place in the world. So if, for example, you are to pick up a newspaper in the GCC, you'll find it's maybe has 70%, 60% just adverts, and it's all about serving the potential customer. It's luxury watches, luxury handbags, restaurant. It's all about consumption. There's very little about value on what are we here for, what do we do, how can we be better people, how do we serve those around us. And that's why it's important that for those that are serious, especially yourselves that are thinkers, that are involved in academia, that are involved in the next generation of Muslim thought, that actually what is a halal lifestyle for us, what is a priority for us, how do we make ourselves better served. There's a wonderful tradition of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in which he said, when someone is secure in their property, healthy in their body, and has food for the day, it is as if he owned the entire world. And actually, if you think about that, you know, it's a very, very simple but important statement, because actually that would be most of the Muslims in the world. Like we would have, you know, for most people, they would have some security where they live. You know, if they're youngish, they would have health in their body, and they would have food for the day. Maybe not food for the week, maybe not food for the month, maybe not food for the year, but definitely food for the day for most. And I think this is important, because even though we do have extreme poverty in the Muslim world, and you can go to places like, you know, Somalia, and you can find people that are literally dying because there's no food for the day. You can also go to countries, for example, in the Middle East and in Asia, where they have food for 10 years, right? So we definitely do have the two extremes, but I think generally we have, you know, we would find ourselves, according to this tradition of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, to be in a better place than we were in his time. So my proposition here today is that there's something really important about people to reflect on their relationship with wealth, and the fact that for most it's a relationship where they can never win, they can never be successful, because there's a constant chase behind something that they will never be able to grasp. And you know, what we need to look at is how much do we actually need versus how much do we actually want, because the needs and wants of man are so extremely different. There's a wonderful tradition of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam which says, leave that which makes you doubt for that which does not make you doubt, for truth leads to reassurance and lies lead to uncertainty. And if you were to look at that as a principle for trade and engagement in the commercial spaces that Muslims deal with, how much things would change. How much things would change, because if our relationship with wealth, it was to be an enabler for the hereafter rather than a means for this world, we would find that we were in a very different situation. At the moment, Muslims are involved with all kinds of bizarre schemes, you know, get rich quick efforts. You know, you see so many people trying to make money out of this idea of a halal, you know, business opportunity, halal, you know, wealth networks. And it just seems that, you know, halal just simply means selling something to Muslims. It's a cheap way to build a brand. And I think it's important to really reflect on that actually halal is nothing inherently to do with selling to Muslims. Actually, halal is about building things and building products and building services that are lawful in of themselves. And for that, there's three things that we need to look at. One is having a clear strategy and getting focused on what's actually important. You know, you have, you know, mashallah, places like in Indonesia, Malaysia, you know, Singapore, you have a state infrastructure which will support that. And you have, mashallah, such, you know, intelligent people like in the academic and the business community that can really make some bridges on making sure that we can build infrastructure, commercial opportunities which are in line with our values. The second thing is to make step-by-step changes. So not try to change everything in one day. We need to make incremental changes if we're going to see a shift in the way that we live and work as a community. Sometimes what happens is, in the pursuit of making a change to a more halal, let's say, lifestyle, we try to change everything in one day, and that's never successful. You know, you get a lot of emotion, a lot of passion, and you think, oh, I want to make this change, I want to make that change. But in all truth, all that happens is you fizzle out. And then the third thing is, it's important to focus, you know, and really think about what would make things more closer to our faith and more closer to our values, because actually the evidence of our faith is in our trade. The evidence of our faith is in our dealings with other people, like the true faith that we have. So it's important to really take a step back, focus, and start looking at, if we are seeking to be a supplier to the halal market, What are we seeking to supply? If we're looking, for example, at beauty products, are we looking at beauty products that are actually, respectful, that, are engaged and presented to women in a way that allow them to maintain their dignity and actually use those products in appropriate places? Or are we just willing to sell at any cost? Similarly, for example, if it comes to meat, often this is a discussion that you'll find in many places, that how do we balance the need, the desire for Muslims to consume meat with the inability to process those animals in a way that is truly halal. Now, if you were to look at the traditions of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the slaughter of animals, it's a very dignified process. It's a very dignified process where the animal is free from fear. But actually, if you look at the way generally Muslims deal with slaughter of animals, it's atrocious. Technically things may be halal, even if you're slaughtering a halal animal, a cow or a sheep. But actually the process by which that is done is actually very far from halal. Why? Because there's a desire to meet a demand which cannot be met in a way that is truly lawful and in line with our values. But unless we start making a change, it will never happen. So this is important. And for that to happen, we need to see a move from consumerism. We really need to see a move from this constant desire to consume, to eat, to buy, and have a more altruistic approach where we can be a bit more reflective on what's our purpose. If man was sent to the world as a custodian of it, then how is it that we are destroying the world in a way that has never happened before? I was watching a documentary about Apple products, for example, and they mentioned how the tin that's required in the back end of an iPhone is coming mainly from Indonesia. But they showed the most extreme child labor through which that tin is being extracted. Now, obviously, there will be Muslim subcontractors that are, looking for halal rizq, that are dealing with these contracts in Indonesia, yet they are doing that at the cost of children whose livelihoods they are filling with some degree of wealth, but destroying their childhoods, destroying their health. And the only way we can change that is by actually saying no to certain kinds of resources, because it's not befitting. We've seen every year in Bangladesh, for example, fires in these big factories where children and women are exploited to serve the demands of cheap clothing in Western countries. And actually, that's not from a halal lifestyle. For those operators, those Muslims that own those factories, for them to think that their risk was halal, even though they were, for example, just selling clothes to Western companies. In all truth, it cannot be halal if it is done at the cost and the price of, Muslim women and children who are exploited. But this change can never happen until we all start making small changes. For example, you go into some shops in Western countries, and they have this idea of what they call fast fashion, where you can buy clothes that are so cheap it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, you can buy a t-shirt for $2. You can buy a shirt for like $4, and these are prices in some of the richest countries in the world. And it's not fair and it's not right, but the only reason those prices can be achieved is the people that make those products are truly exploited. So we've got to reevaluate what's our relationship with wealth. And this is a quote from one of the biggest names in football in the United Kingdom. For those fans of Liverpool Football Club that are on the call today, you'll recognise this player, Sadio Mane, who is a footballer from Africa, and he plays football at Liverpool Football Club. He is a very wealthy man, a very, very wealthy player, and he is a very, very successful person. And I mean that in the truest sense. So he definitely makes millions of pounds playing football, but you will also see him in his local masjid cleaning the toilets. So, he's, in my mind, he's definitely one of the most successful people on the planet, because he's made millions of dollars, but he still cleans the toilet in the mosque. Yeah, so he still has an ability to evaluate what's important. And you can see this was a quote that he made when he was seen walking out of a press conference. And I don't know if you can see on the presentation, but if you zoom in, and I'll zoom in on the phone, you can see his cell phone the screen is smashed. The screen is smashed. And he was asked about this, that how that he, as one of the most successful footballers in the Premiership, you know, he's still got a phone that has a smashed screen. Yeah. And he spoke about his wealth, and he said, why would I want 10 Ferraris, 20 diamond watches, and 2 jet planes? What would that do for the world? And he mentions that because there are many Premiership footballers that have things like that. And he said, I starved, I worked in the fields, I played barefoot, and I didn't go to school. Now I can help people. I prefer to build schools and give poor people food or clothing. I have built schools and a stadium. We provide clothes, shoes, and food for the people in extreme poverty. I prefer that my people receive a little of what life has given me. And this is someone that can spend on those things. He can buy Ferraris and diamond watches and jet planes, but he has a different relationship with wealth. His money is halal, but his expenditure is also halal. And he's reflecting on how does he deal with the privilege of wealth. So I just want to finish with this idea that as people interested in a halal economy, we need to really move our attitudes that are kind of prevailing today when we look at any chance to make money. And we need to move to an attitude of gratitude and really look at how much wealth do we need. And if we can focus on that, we can build better products, we can build better quality, more in line with our values. There's a hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha where she said, they slaughtered a sheep and gave it in charity from it. The Prophet ﷺ said, what remains of it? And Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, nothing remains but its shoulder. I.e. that she'd given all of the animal away that they slaughtered except just the shoulder. And the Prophet ﷺ, he replied to her and said, all of it stays except the shoulder. So rather that the way he was living his lifestyle, the way he was running his home, was that giving was actually living. And for all of us, we need to take that journey and think, well, how are we living? And what's our relationship with wealth? And that will help us naturally see a much better halal lifestyle emerge. So at the lowest level, you know, we all make sure that we give our zakat. At the next level is that we make sure once we've started giving our proper zakat, we start giving, you know, a good level of sadaqah. And then once we're doing that, we start looking at waqf, and we're making some allocation for waqf. And then we go into the green zone, which I call it, which is, you know, what we saw as activity from the companions. So, you know, you will see there's a very famous hadith about when Umar and Abu Bakr, they came to Muhammad sallallahu with their wealth. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he came with half. He came with half of everything he owned to give it to the cause of God. And Abu Bakr, he came with everything and he gave it in the cause of God. And on that day was when Umar said he would never catch Abu Bakr. But this is a trajectory that every single Muslim can take. If you have $1 in your pocket, or you have $1 million in your pocket, if you have 1 Bitcoin in your pocket, or you have 10,000 Bitcoin in your pocket, these are journeys that we can take to really start changing and shaping what is a halal economy. And I just want to finish with this, because actually, if we can look at how we spend money, we'll find that we can spend it a lot better. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَنَاكُمْ. That when it actually comes to giving, what Allah is saying to you is give from what He's given you. Like sometimes we feel that when we're giving to God, it's like it's our money, we earned it, we did all these clever things, and it was our smart brains that did it. But actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He just turns it on His head when He says, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقَنَاكُمْ. That He gave you this in the first place, so give it back. And if we could look at like our relationship with wealth, if it was more defined like that, I think we'd be a lot more successful. And that's what I want to finish with, because it's time for a change in the way that we look with how we're building products, how we're looking at our markets, both domestically and internationally. We need to move away from this constant and unsatiable hunger for consumer products and start looking at how do we build quality products, how do we defend and honor our own people, how do we move away from child labor, how do we move away from the exploitation of women, how do we move away from actually the oppression of man for the servitude of other man. And that's only something that we can do. It's not about anyone else. We all make that change if we have a shop with 1 person or we have a factory with 10,000. And this is something that I would ask us all to think about, and inshallah, hopefully influence our businesses and our networks to do better at. Open to any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azim Kidwai, for your insightful speech. I think this is a very, very inspiring speech, where COVID pandemic become our starting point to reevaluate our life priority. Yeah, we don't think of ourselves, but we also have to think of others. Yeah, and then build. What is it? The attitude of the gratitude. Yeah, we try to change the relationship with wealth. Yeah, from the accumulation of wealth into the giving for other, and even Prof. Azim provide a very illustrating pyramid from what is it? Stratified altruism, from giving zakat into giving sodako into giving wakaf into give half of our wealth and even give all of our wealth for the sake of the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, hopefully we can learn much from his speech. Now I would like to open a question for speech delivered by Ms. Azim. Anyone? Okay, I think I have here in the chat box a question from Unisti Dr. Eka, yeah, to Mr. Azim. There are two questions. One, how about in every celebration day, like Christmas Day, for Catholic people, we are as Muslim. Is it halal if we also say Merry Christmas to them? The second question, we are a Muslim who have saving from conventional bank that usually got interest rate for our recognition as a customer. Is it halal in Islam? So while waiting for another question, yeah, please, Mr. Azim.
Yeah, I mean, just to be very clear, I'm not a theologian. Yeah, I'm happy to share my own opinion on that, which is based on my understanding of Islam. But obviously, these are beyond the scope of the presentation of itself. So when it comes to this issue of Christmas, generally in, like, for example, in our context, it's not something that we participate in. You know, we respect all religions and all traditions, but we don't partake in their religious festivals. Okay, so that's just as a general rule. It's not something that we do. And the second thing is that in regards to this issue of interest, you know, there is no crime in the taking, giving, recording. So, mashallah, for those that are coming from countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, you are the pioneers in riba-free financial structures. You are the pioneers in, you know, Islamic finance. So, I think it's even more important that you invest in those organizations that are providing quote unquote halal options, rather than even consider anything to do with interest-bearing options, because you have the option. In some countries where there's no options, then Allah knows best, and local scholars would be the best to be consulted. But in Asia, mashallah, there's so much smart work going on, and it's a credit to your central governments and your local governments in facilitating that. You know, I have some engagement in Indonesia, and it's wonderful to see what's, you know, the effort, the concern in Indonesia. You have organizations involved with financial services that are, you know, super intelligent and super diligent and super trying to make things more appropriate. I have a call later today with the World Zakat Forum, which is supported by Basnas, the Indonesian Zakat Authority, and you just see, you know, a genuine effort with some very smart people trying to make things more quote unquote halal, and to make things more beneficial and more engaging. So I don't think there's any excuse for engaging in interest-bearing transactions in those countries at the very least. Outside of the region, Allah knows best, and people should speak to their local scholars in their own context.
Okay, thank you very much. So for Ibu Eka, yeah, the first question, it's about the theological differences. And also for the second one, yeah, I think this is also a very good momentum for us, yeah, to try to invest and also to transact with the Islamic financial institution. So we try to change our life into a halal lifestyle, including when we have the transaction with the financial institution, that we try to engage with the Islamic financial institution. Okay, is there any question from the participant to Mr. Azim Kidway? Okay. Anybody would like to raise hand? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any question for Mr. Azim? If there are not, so maybe we have to end this first part of the international webinar about halal lifestyle, and then we would like to convey our highest appreciation and gratitude for Mr. Azim Kidway, who have delivered a very insightful speech about halal lifestyle, role of wealth, where we have to redefine our relationship with our wealth. Not only it's about our wealth who will be benefit us, but also how we can contribute for others, for the society, for the community around us, so we can put and progress our life together, to share the prosperity together, and then to build this nature together, this world civilization together. Once again, on behalf of the committee, we would like to convey our highest gratitude and appreciation for Ms. Azim Kidway, and hopefully you can have a very inspiring speech in other event, and we hope we can also meet in other future meeting. Thank you very much, Mr. Azim. Do you have any closing statement?
No, thank you very much, and for the opportunity, and thank you especially to the organisers that have been working so hard behind the scenes. It's been a very, very professional experience, so thank you very much for all your efforts, to all the team members that nobody else will, I guess, know about, but you've done a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azim. Okay, let's give a big applause for Mr. Azim. Thank you very much, Ms. Azim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay. Now we come to the second international webinar. We will have Dr. Syed Mr. Abdur Rahman Shah from the University of Engineering and Technology, Taxila, Pakistan, who will deliver a speech about strengthening Islamic banking in the post-COVID-19 economy recovery, as has been introduced by the Master of Ceremony. He is the expert in the field of the Islamic financial institution. So please welcome Mr. and Dr. Syed Mr. Abdur Rahman Shah. Please, Dr. Syed. Has Dr. Syed entered the Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, please, Dr. Abdur Rahman. Time is yours. Yes, please. Okay. Operator, can you make the speaker of Dr. Abdur Rahman Shah to be open, because he said that he faced a difficulty to unmute his speaker.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Please,
That's unmuted.
time is yours. Yeah, 30 minutes for the presentation and 10 minutes for the question and answer. Doctor,
Okay.
please.
Alhamdulillah alladhi abda al-aflaq wal ardin was-salatu was-salamu ala man kana nabiyyan wa adamu bayna al-ma'i wat-tin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, fa'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna 'alan nabiy ya ayyuhallazina amanu sallu 'alayhi wa sallimu taslima. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa alihi wa itratihi bi adadi kulli ma'lumin. Please display my slides. That is with you.
Yes. Anybody, committee, can you help Dr. Abdur Rahman Shah to share his slide in the Zoom? Okay. Yes.
Okay. Yet these are not shared, but yes, it has been.
Yes.
First of all, I would like to congratulate all of you. Today is the birthday of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Eid Miladun Nabi, 12th of Rabiul Awal, this is 1443. So Secondly, I would like to congratulate all organizers of international webinar with title of optimizing the potential of the Islamic economy in post-COVID economic recovery. So especially faculty members of the Faculty of Economics and Business, Sharif Hidayatullah State Islamic University, Jakarta, Indonesia. I am there, Dr. Sayyid Muhammad Abdurrahman, faculty member of University of Engineering and Technology, Texla. As already I have been introduced about my expertise. So I would like to present the assigned topic of Islamic banking and non-banking financial institutions development, pandemic COVID-19 in case of Pakistan. So in this one, we can discuss this topic from different three perspectives. So please, next slide. So as these banking and non-banking financial institutions are linked and titled with Islamic banking and non-banking financial institutions. Please, next slide, change it. We can see on next slide that no, this is the second one, the previous one. Islam is a complete code of life. Islam talks about aqidah, faith and belief, about theology. Then second, it talks about Sharia, practices and activities, and then ultimate objective, akhlaq, morality, ethics. So it means you can say that aqidah is like root, and then Sharia is like branches, and akhlaq and morality, ethics is like end outcome. So then in Sharia, there are two types of the things. So one is ibadat, this is meant to God worship. Then secondly, muamalat, meant to man activities. Then in muamalat, there are different activities, political activities, economic activities, social activities, judicial perspective of Islam, international law of Islam. So in such a way, we can see and justify the title that Islam is a complete code of life, because it is not only talking about set of theology. It is talking about all type of practices and all emerging and contemporary aspects of your society. And Islam provides complete set of guidance, theoretically in verses of Quran, and practically, and its manifestation in traditions of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So first, it is important to consider. Yes, next slide. On next slide, we can see that there are two different type of things in muamalat, ibadat and muamalat. In ibadat and muamalat, there are, please next slide. There is a nature of activities of different kind of things. Like if we see, yes, next slide, third one. Okay, ibadat are they discussed in Islamic law in detail. These are by nature static, no need of substantial ijtihad. Whereas we can see that in muamalat and banking, non-banking institutions and their solution, what are being provided, Sharia compliant solution. This is explained principally briefly. And these by nature, these are dynamic. The markets that were prevailing at time of below Prophet Muhammad, and at that time, currency that was prevailing, dirham and dinar, these were actually minted by Roman empires. And some of Persian coins were also prevailing there. Then at time of Walid bin Abdul Malik, almost after first century, first Muslim coin was minted. So at that time, practices were completely different. But right now we can see that our market structure, our different transactions, our market requirements at retail sector, corporate sector, these are having different type of manifestation and construct, although basic principles are they provided in verses of Quran and in traditions of Holy Prophet. So therefore, we need substantial ijtihad to update these things according to Islamic law. And when we are providing this solution, and yet we are in early ages, at that time to face this COVID, this was really a big challenge. What was the performance, how the things were are there replaced, and how its bad impacts were harmonized. So through different kind of the set of instrument is provided in Islamic law. Please, fourth slide. On next fourth slide, we can see that Islam provides Islamic law of business contract. if we see balance sheet of banking institution or non-banking financial institutions, so at both sides, these banking institutions were having loan contracts. If we see on liability side or owner equity, complete capital structure of banking sector was on loan based. And this loan was against specific deposit rate or other kind of the rates of interest. At asset side, lending rate was there being of interest rate separate is going to be interest income and income loss statement. So we can see that this was replaced with different contracts of Islamic law, business contracts of both sides of asset sheets. So when we face this type of a disaster like pandemic of COVID-19, so at that time, this contractual obligation and contractual replacement that was Sharia compliant, you can see there are essentials of contract. Likewise, there is a set of prohibition. So Islamic finance or Islamic business contracts and to deal with them is more responsible behavior. You can see that like for accounting entries, there is complete auditing. Likewise, for Sharia entries, there is Sharia auditing. And to comply all the transactions, whether they are in any part of any balance sheet, that should be in line with these Sharia contracts. So at that time, at one side, to have to save your organization from Sharia non-compliance risk, and on other side, this kind of the COVID that was badly disturbing and different compromised standards were being introduced in regulatory frameworks. So at that time, to come with the Sharia compromise or these kind of thing was not possible. So although all other industry have faced it, but overall I can say that if we see Islamic banking as compared to conventional banking in case of Pakistan, it appeared with good performance, although there was some bad effects, but comparatively Islamic financial institutions, whether they are banking or non-banking institutions, they performed very well. Yes, next fifth slide. So there I can see there is SBP, State Bank of Pakistan, which is regulator of banking sector. According to Banking Companies Ordinance of 1962, state banking is having authority to supervise banking sector and other development financial institutions. So therefore, our central bank from the day start, when there was inception of this COVID-19 in very earlier months of 2020. So at that time, they came responsibly and they provided different kind of precautionary measures. Likewise, those segments what were being beaten, they compensated them on the basis of some compromise things. So in this one, including Islamic banking sector, for all commercial banks, they have provided very good and accurate policy. That's sixth one. So there are some specific prudential regulations. According to these prudential regulations, all banking sector, whether this is conventional interest-based banking system or Islamic banking system, because they all are included in definition of commercial banks. So according to these prudential regulations, all the banking sector were supervised, specifically the second regulation for corporate and commercial banking sector. So in such a way, what were the regulation and how this appeared? Please, the next slide. Seventh one. So as COVID appeared, so it appeared to bring back the poverty clock, unemployment, low per capita income, inflation, financial instability, even in developed economies. So it hit badly all the segments and all major economic indicators. This pandemic produced hurdles in achieving development goals of different economies. Likewise, all the economies were moving as the agenda of the United Nations was provided 2030 SDGs. So there were hurdles and the sluggish trends were also there due to COVID-19. A series of research papers and reports appeared at climax about the importance of this problem along with the possible solution. Islamic finance has potential as the part of existing economic system to elevate these economic and social abuses through diversified Sharia compliant tools and Islamic financial institutions. So the next one. Eighth one. Okay. If we see that there are the two next segments of this presentation. First, Pakistan banking's development perspective during COVID-19. Likewise, Pakistan, the non-banking financial institution during COVID-19. And overall, we can see that first there is provided an overview of all banking sector, and after this one we have focused on Islamic banking sector. Please, next one, 19. Next slide. So there we can see that performance highlight the development of all banks. In first one, you can see that total assets in 2019, this stands at the place of 20. These are actually explained amount in Pak rupee billion. In first one, it is all about 21 and half. But in 2020, we can see that it increased. And likewise, profit before tax, we can see it is also having increasing trend with ultimate difference of 30.7%. Likewise, deposits, gross advances, net investment income. But we can see that spread, deposit and lending rate spread, that is going to be the interest income of banking sector income last statement, that was decreasing. But this spread we can see in case of Islamic banking sector, all the things are positively performing. This is about all banking sector and their consolidated data is reflected in this pie graph. Please, the 10th one. Okay, there we can also see that non-funded income is also decreasing by 3.7 due to COVID-19 impact. But there we can see that provision and the write-off, this was increasing in overall banking sector of Pakistan according to State Bank's data. Like as operating expense was increasing as well because expenses due to control this kind of COVID-19 and paying wages especially to our employees, but when they are working from home, but you are bearing this cost. There are some other justifications as well, because when you are not fully performing with your all employees and other infrastructure, definitely your operating expense was increasing at 5.4, but it is not any substantial amount. This is minor amount, but we can see that profit was increasing with more big difference as compared to this operating expense. So ultimately, they are at better off, not a big deal. 11th one. That we have discussed in last slides, because there, although contractual obligation is different, but apparently these accounting heads are the same. In total assets, we can see there is 28.8% increase. Likewise, profit before tax is also increasing. Deposits are also increasing. Gross Islamic financing and related assets are also increasing. Net income was also increasing, and spread that was negative in case of overall banking sector. It means if we see about Islamic banking sector, this spread, and this is not spread of interest, this is spread of their profit in case of sale contracts, and in case of lease contracts, these were rentals, and likewise in case of participatory contracts, this is profit rate spread. It doesn't mean that this is interest rate spread, because there is complete Sharia governance framework in Islamic banking sector that oversees all these kind of things, and separately accounting treatment. If a conventional bank is running, Islamic branches are the Islamic banks, then their all financial statements, their businesses are completely different, and this spread means what are prescribed or what are recommended are verified with Sharia. This kind of the interest spread of profit rate, rentals, and likewise profit rate. This is also performing positively as compared to overall banking sector, where there is the majority, because 17% of total banking is Islamic banking sector. If we see it in overall banking sector, then in performance we can see that spread was negative, but by focusing specifically Islamic banking sector, it is positive. That is a positive contribution, and we can say that COVID has not pushed it back to some kind of negative region. That was not beneficial. Yes, the 12th one. Likewise, the next performance highlights, we can see non-funded income. This is also performing positively, although with the minor margin as compared to in 2020 with the 2019. but it is positive trend that is expected that in 2021, when we will have complete annual data, it would be more positive with a good increasing rate. Likewise, provision and write-off is also performing positively. Operating expenses are also positively moving on. So all these fundamental and basic highlights facilitate us to understand the things. If we go to the digits, then on next slide 13, we can see that how overall our assets, and this is specifically about industry progress and market share of Islamic banks. And this is the latest report of this June 2021. So we can see that how the things are compared. In first period, we can see that our assets, these were 3633. This is the amount in Pak rupee billion. Then in March 2021, this is 4389, then 4797. So we can see that this is increasing with a good pace. And likewise, deposits are also increasing. Year-on-year growth, we can see that first it was 21.4, then 30.6, then 32. Although in June 21, this is not increasing with the rate as it first quarter it was increasing, but it is expected that now as different economic activities are stimulating in after COVID world, so it will improve more in next quarters. So likewise, overall share in industry, you can see that up to 17% we have reached. And it is expected that in next 1 or 2 years, inshallah, it will cross 20% of total banking sector as according to its existing growth rate. So number of Islamic banking institutions, these are also these are 22. So there are the 5 full-fledged Islamic banks and 17 conventional banks are running their Islamic banking branches with separate entertainment and arrangements. And likewise, branches network and other number of Islamic banking windows of different conventional banking. But overall, we can see according to progress and market share that Islamic banking during COVID, although its speed went a little bit slow down, but overall, all the trends are positive and they are contributing positively in the market. Next one. Okay, SPP came with the tremendous changes in different policy stances to counter this bad impacts of COVID-19. SPP is continuously engaged with the industry to understand issues and challenges and formulate a policy response accordingly. In this range, SPP conducted a flash survey covering all banks, development financial institutions, and microfinance banks. Next one. So on next slide, we can see different segments. Like the survey results show that industry has started to take preventive measures to limit the adverse repercussions of the COVID-19. However, the results also indicate diversity among the industry participants in terms of their readiness to handle any worst case scenario. On next slide. So we can see different steps that were taken by SPP. So there, all of them are summarized there. Then I will skip a few slides because details are there that would be shared by you by this international webinar management. These are the measures what are shown there. That first SPP reduces policy rate by cumulative 625 basic points in COVID-19. And likewise, during COVID-19, they have also facilitated investment. And likewise, health, they have also supported health sector as well, and to combat the different impacts of this virus. And likewise, different loan extension and restructuring packages were also offered. And SBP Rozgar scheme, because downsizing was there, and some small industry was going to be closed. So at that time, SBP Rozgar schemes were also introduced for those people who want to work in at a small scale, or if they want to have financing at large scale to retain their employees, then this specific packages were also introduced. So all these measures are actually in backup of the slides what already I have shown about performance, that why our industry stimulated and retained the trends, and likewise consistently they moved, although there were bad impacts and some reverse indicators. But overall, we can see that in industry, industry was at better position as compared to other countries where the same impacts of COVID-19 were found there. Okay, the next one. Please skip these a few slides. 17. Yes, this is explained the monetary policy. Next one, 18. Because we are having shortage of time, and all of these points explained in next slides. Yes, 18. Please jump at 23. At 23. Okay. 23. Okay. So different critical functions and the systems of the banking to remain available. All critical functions and the system required to provide banking services, including a real-time gross settlement system that will remain available as usual even during lockdowns. So in such a way, different conditions and the things were improved. The 23, the next slide, please. Okay, the next one, please. Let's go. Okay, minimal staff as Bank SBP from March 24, 2020 has invoked a scenario wherein the minimal staff will be present as its premises to undertake the critical function. Whereas the rest of the staff has been allowed to work from home. The banks can also make such arrangements both in their branches, in their head regional offices. Further, the banks may start their branch operation from 10 a.m. if needed to better facilitate their clients. So it means we can see that completely these banking institutions are the areas where there was substantial impact of COVID-19. Complete branches lockdown was not allowed. So minimal staff was allowed so that these banks can work and they can conduct their different operations and they can do their business, and likewise they can retain their employees as well. So in such a way, the performance indicator that have been shown in this behind to this one, all these steps were also taken there. Please slide 27. Come on, jump on to slide 27. 27. The next one. Yes. So there we can see that the non-banking financial institutions development perspective during COVID-19 was also good. So we can see that SECP relaxed regulatory deadlines pandemic. So regulator of banking sector in case of Pakistan is SBP, State Bank of Pakistan, which is responsible to conduct or to formulate monetary policy and to stabilize our complete monetary and pricing system. Likewise, SECP, Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, is responsible to regulate non-banking financial institutions. Although some common areas are managed by both of them, but majorly all the registration and all kind of the regulation, supervision and control of non-banking financial institution, this is conducted and managed by SECP, Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. Yes, next one. So there we can see that this is snapshot of non-banking financial institution industry as of the June 30, 2021. This is also, these are latest digits in which we can see that how non-banking financial mutual funds and the plans, likewise asset management companies, how they are performing, what is the percentage of total assets. A majority of the mutual funds and plans are also there. So there we can see they almost 60% they are representing this whole industry. Likewise, discretionary and non-discretionary portfolio is also representing 18.40, but we can see that this one is also having a good perspective. And likewise, some other leasing companies, non-banking companies, investment banks, Mudarba companies, what are according to Sharia and Islamic law, and likewise private equity and the venture funds and housing finance companies, they all are presenting, and their complete snapshot is shown there on this slide. Please, the next one. where we can see their development and other growth trends we can see there. If we see the growth trends of the total non-banking financial institute, that is our core theme of this presentation. So overall, we can see that how this one is performing. There you can see that June 20, at that time, COVID was there. But we can see that only in June 19, minus 7.7. But this was not, this was the pre-COVID impact. Some other economic problems were there in our country, due to which this is a negative zone. But we can see in June 20 and then June 21, there is clearly increase there. So it means overall we can see that non-banking financial institutions, if we see overall is this industry, so due to COVID-19, this was not affected in substantial way. That's a good one. Okay, next one, 30. So there you can see this growth trend is also shown, that how non-banking financial institution is increasing. The same digits are there shown in trend analysis. Yes, next, 31. Okay, there we can see that there is the breakup of Sharia compliant and conventional asset non-banking financial institution industry. So we can see, because we are talking about Islamic non-banking financial institutions. First, we provided an overview of total non-banking financial institutions. So now this is a breakup of Sharia compliant and conventional assets of non-banking financial industry. So there we can see, or likewise again we can come and we can see there that how Sharia compliant is representing there. In June 20, this digit is 449.62, but this increase and there is the 568.21. So it means there is clear increase, and overall in third bottom line, we can see that Sharia compliant asset growth is 397.99%. This is from June 2014 to June 2021. So it means there was not any decrease, due to which there was bad impact. This is a very tremendous growth that is showing us that how Islamic non-banking financial institutions are performing during COVID-19. Yes, next slide, please. So there is the breakup that is shown in pie graph with the light blue, sky blue. You can see that this one is actually about conventional assets of non-banking financial, whereas the green one is the Islamic Sharia compliant assets. So there we can see in this one June 21 and June. And there is the clear difference you can see, although the growth there in June 20 is 31.8 and there is 30.9. There is a very small difference, not a big difference. So definitely when COVID is prevailing there would be a very minor impact on industry. Otherwise, Islamic Sharia compliant non-banking financial industry has maintained its share in market. Yes, 33. So there we can see Sharia compliant mutual funds and Sharia compliant growth rate is also highlighted there. Overall, we can see on the third last bottom line that there is over the last 7 years 448.58% increase in Sharia compliant mutual funds growth. So it shows that there is a positive trend. And if we see the overall, we can see that there is a minor decline in this one. That first it was 40%, and now this is 40% in the fifth line, we can see. So there was only 1% decline as when we compared this June of 21 with June of last year 20. So there is only 1% decline. This is not a substantial decline, a very minor decline. We can ignore this one. Yes, the next one. So this is also the same is shown there in this pie graph. So we can see this mutual funds, the same what I have explained, this is shown. Yes, 35, next one. So total assets of leasing companies, Mudarba and investment banks, especially these are shown there. And especially we are concerned if we talk about Islamic non-banking financial institution, then Mudarba share is there. So in this Mudarba share, we can see that how this Mudarba share is performing. So there we can see this is performing in a good way, and there is not any big difference or the big effect of COVID-19 upon this specific Mudarba companies what are on the basis of Sharia. Yes, 36. Okay, this is also a snapshot of about all category-wise breakup of asset under management, asset management, and likewise Sharia compliant collective investment schemes with that are registered with SECP, and all of them are shown. And I think when these slides would be shared with you, if you are interested to know about its breakup rather than consolidated data of Islamic non-banking financial institution, so this slide will facilitate you and help you to understand inside of industry. Okay. So this presentation provides successful dealing of regulators, whether this is Islamic banking regulator of SBP or Islamic non-banking financial institution of SECP, Security and Exchange Commission of Pakistan, to banking and non-banking financial institutions development in pandemic COVID-19 with special concentration on Islamic institution. This provides banking industry and non-banking financial institution leader with brief analysis comparing financial sector key performance indicators and franchise forward-looking views and insights from professional perspective as lesson for countries with Islamic along with their existing conventional financial arrangement, like other countries like Indonesia, Malaysia, Bahrain, Turkey, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, UAE, or other country where there is dual banking is working. So this experience and dealing of our regulatory authority with banking institution and non-banking institution in the pandemic world was really a successful experience. So all these performance indicators and development different macroeconomic indicator helped us to understand the subject matter of this presentation. So nice of you. I congratulate your faculty of this economics and likewise your all university management for successful and professional arrangement of this international webinar, and best wishes for you. Fi amanillah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Syed M. Abdurrahman Shah, who has already delivered a very insightful speech, about the development of Islamic banking and non-banking financial institution in Pakistan, and we see how it has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but it has still progressing toward a very good, well, and positive positive COVID-19 pandemic could be the momentum again for the Islamic financial industry to tap the opportunity on the urgency of the ethical and then moral business and also financial industry. So this is actually the right momentum for Islamic financial industry to gain the opportunity to tap the opportunity provided by the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so now we open the question for the presentation by Dr. Abdurrahman Shah. Anyone would like to pose question and give comment to Dr. Abdurrahman Shah presentations? Yeah, Ibu Rahmawati, would you like to ask question to Pak Abdurrahman Shah? Yes, please, Ibu Rahmawati, a lecturer from our faculty. Please, Ibu Rahmawati. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
I'm very glad to join this webinar. Assalamualaikum, Prof. I have been meet you in Sudan. I expect you remember with me.
Okay, yes. I can, mashallah, recognize you.
I'm very happy and I'm very really surprised. You come to my university and attend as a... you remember me, sir? We meet in Sudan.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, we are going to the shop together with another. Hopefully we can meet again.
That's good.
for
Same passion at my end. Nice to see you.
Okay, Prof, you mentioned before that Islamic finance is expected to alleviate economic and social abuse because of COVID-19, and that's is which influenced by political and influenced by political activities and social activities. You mentioned that political activities and social activities will be growth, okay, because we Islamic finance for we could solve the problem of COVID-19. So just we know that political engagement is engaged by social capital in the society. We generate personal network. So social capitalism is misguided in the community in develop economic development. So based on your country experience, what is the challenge to improve or to develop because of the abuse, because of the COVID-19 in a social relationship in your country? How what is challenge in your country? Because we see that because of the technology, so everybody buy everything used by digital, and then we don't know who's seller, who the product product, and I think that how the Muslim should make a relationship, strong relationship to more make a strong relationship, because of if we didn't do that, yeah, it's not will Islamic finance is not will make any changes. How do you your perspective about that, Prof? Thank you.
Okay, really, I will not say this is your question. There are very good comments by you and some kind of the complimentary statements by you. So if we see in case of Pakistan, one of the interesting and good thing is that the arrangement that what they are made in our country, there was not completely lockdown was not implemented. Okay, smart lockdown or the some kind of limited lockdown was there in all type of the industries. So if we see about your question, according to this these Islamic financial institutions or the Islamic industries, so as this is not major part of these financial institutions or the banking sector or the commercial sector or the insurance industry, so overall policies were taken there, which also affected the whole industry as well. Therefore, I came first with consolidated data, then I focused on Islamic counterpart. So on the basis of these policies, what are taken are the different measures, what were taken during COVID-19. These cannot be segregated that these are Islamic security specific or Islamic financial transaction specific, because Islamic financial transactions or Islamic institutions are the part of this whole economy of country. So definitely what is being affected by these measures, Islamic industry as a part of this industry is also being affected. So at this point, I think we can't segregate this one Islamic one from the other, its counting its counterparts. If I take it as a journal, then how we can increase this collaboration, how we can move. So my general comment is what is going on in these financial institutions, this is Sharia compliant. This is not Sharia based. When we are having complete fiscal organ or the whole economy or the budgeting of economy is going to be changed according to Sharia, then we will move to Sharia based system. Definitely that will affect positively. This is the approach. Up to when we don't have substantial share or political will with us. Political will means the support of our political governments or democratic governments. We can't change whole system. And I think, up to when we are not implementing the whole political system, the whole judicial system supportive to this one, we can't get a solid solution according to the objectives of Sharia as defined in Islamic economic system.
Okay. Okay, maybe I get the perspective from you that Sharia compliance is a base or our two movement. May I say like that?
Dr. Abdurrahman, are you still there? You are mute, Dr. Abdurrahman. So we can't hear your voice because your speaker is mute. Okay. Okay, I think because of the technical problem, and I'm afraid that we run out of time. So please allow me, to conclude these sessions. That Dr. Abdurrahman has already presented very well about the development of the financial institution, both banking and non-banking institution in Pakistan. And it seems that COVID-19 has affected the financial industry in Pakistan, but still Islamic financial industry has shown very good progress even during this adversity of the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, we would like to deliver our highest attitude and appreciation for Dr. Syed Muhammad Abdurrahman Shah for his insightful, inspiring speech about the strengthening Islamic banking in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. So big applause for Dr. Muhammad Abdurrahman Shah. And then, okay, before we come to the next international webinar, we would like to announce that this international webinar could be happen because of the financial support from our sponsor and media partner. So we would like to also appreciate our sponsor. They are Pegadaian, BBO, Ines, Bank Mega Syariah, Dompet Duafa, ACT, Aksi Cepat Tanggap, Bank BTN Syariah, Inisiatif Zakat Indonesia, BMT Hidayatullah, Hijrah Bank and IDS, and also our media partner, HMPS Perbankan Syariah, Event Jakarta, Event Nasional, Infokopedia, Infolomba, Kampus Update, Acara Kampus, and Enjoy Tasik. So thank you very much for all our sponsor and media partner. So we can have our international webinar today and yesterday and also tomorrow. So now we come to the third international webinar with the topic Halal Tourism will be delivered by our brother Bapak Rianto Sofyan BSSA MBA. He is the head of Halal Industry and Creative Industry Development Division of Ikatan Ahli Ekonomi Islam Indonesia. So without further ado, I would like to welcome you all Bapak Rianto Sofyan. Bapak Rianto Sofyan, please, time is yours. Pak Rianto, could okay, so
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much, Bu Nur Hidayah, distinguished guests, participants, distinguished participants, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. First of all, I think let me share my presentation. Okay. Okay. First of all, let me extend my gratitude to the organizer in giving me the chance to share my thoughts and viewpoints in the challenge and opportunity in reviving the tourism industry in the new normal tourism megatrends. I think the key is the halal tourism. Why? Because in other words, halal tourism has the opportunity to revive faster and will be the trendsetter in restarting the tourism industry. So will be the topics that we're going to discuss. Let me begin first with the giving you an overview of the tourism industry. I think tourism industry, according to the WTTC, the World Trade and Tourism Council, which is the leading authority for the economic impact of the tourism, mentioned that tourism is the fourth largest global GDP contributors. Yeah, and also according to the World Trade Organizations, that tourism industry involve about 185 business activities, and all of them are within the reach of SME, the small medium enterprises. So that's why also the World Bank mentioned that the tourism as the most efficient and faster contributors towards the developing GDP and foreign exchange of the country. So that's why UNWTO has chose the STEP program, Sustainable Tourism for Eliminating Poverty, because this is the sector that is really can be done by any other countries, even though the countries only have the desert, they can also have the desert tour safari. Yeah, so that's why the tourism has been chosen as by the UNWTO as a program, a strategic program to eliminating poverty. Yeah, and also you can see that the it also contributes to the employment opportunity. It's about 10% of the global employment is in the tourism industry, and also what the most part is tourism industry also contributes about 35% of the trading happens in the world. So about the halal tourism, I think the concept of halal tourism basically simply that the destination, travel and hospitality providers has extended services and facilities for Muslim travelers. So the destination and the attraction should have the availability of the halal certified assured food and beverage facilities for the Muslim travelers, and also availability of their water-friendly washroom, so they can do the praying facilities, and also the product and services, and also the attraction is actually conducive to the halal lifestyle. The portfolio products of the Halal Indonesia tourism, or the halal tourism in general, is actually same as the other tourism industry. We have about natures, cultures, and also the man-made. And Indonesia has started to capitalize its DNA as the world's largest Muslim population country for the Muslim-friendly tourism market since 2012. But it has been achieved much progress since the last 5 years. As you can see in this slide, what has been done by the Minister of Tourism of Indonesia, supported by us, the Indonesia Halal Tourism Association, Lombok has achieved the award in the World Halal Tourism Award in Abu Dhabi, which is organized by the Abu Dhabi Tourism Authority and the Minister of Tourism of Arab Leagues as the best World Halal Tourism destination. And you can see the impact on that when Lombok has changed its branding. It used to be Lombok as the sister of Bali because Lombok is next to Bali. Now, when they use the sister of Bali as the tagline or as the branding of Lombok, they have not been successful because that depends on Bali. But in 2015, with the support of the Ministry of Tourism and also the industry from the Indonesia Halal Tourism Association, we have convinced the governor to change the branding of the Lombok as the world best halal tourism destination. So when they get the award in November 2015, right after that, in 2016, the international visitors increased about 40%, 32%. Yeah. So that means it will increase the foreign exchange about 400,000. 4 million. It's about 6 trillion, 5.5 trillion rupiah, yeah, in 1 year. And also the domestic tourism has been also increased about 32%. By doing this, is actually the preparation to be the world best halal tourism destination. It's only cost the local government, the province government of West Nusa Tenggara Barat, the Lombok, about with the support also the Ministry of Tourism of Indonesia, it's about 10 billion rupiah. And now in 1 year time, they get about 6 trillion rupiah. And also from the domestics, about 500 billion rupiah. Yeah, and you can see in the small medium business like this Siti Zainab, who is selling the local delicacy. Her business has been tripled by 20 times. Usually he gets only about 1.5 million profit per month. Now she get about 30 million profit per month because of the the halal tourism development, and also the industry. Loka, the halal friendly hotels or the Muslim friendly hotels from 2015 to 2017, because of what we have done to support this the development of this industry, it has developed about 100% above. Yeah, this is also the big impact, and also the international Muslim travelers coming to Indonesia has been increased about 11 or 12%. And the ranking that is done by the SGIE report, Indonesia has from not included in the top 10 rank of the SGIE report, the Halal Travel Indicator, in 2019 has been reached to ranking 4. And according to the GMTI, Global Muslim Travel Index, and by MasterCard, Crescent Rating and MasterCard, the Indonesia has been improving its rank from rank 6 in 2015 to rank 1 in 2019. As we all know, I think the halal market or the Sharia compliant business market, the Muslim market, is a big size and high growth market. But after the COVID-19 that started in March 2020, I mean, the hardest hit is the sector of the tourism, because by the COVID-19 pandemic, there are a lot of restriction in traveling. So the movement of people is very restricted. So that's why the tourism is the hardest hit. And it is projected by the World Tourism Organization and also Indonesian government that the international tourists coming to Indonesia, I think, will be recovered in about 5 years' time, inshallah in 2024. But the good thing is also because we have the large market of domestic tourism, it will inshallah recover in next year. Hopefully there is no third wave happening in next time. So how are we going to revive the tourism in Indonesia, specifically the halal tourism? I think the key part is the survivor and the recovery of the business player, the industry players. There are three main factors that has to be addressed by the industry players, the businesses. One is the cash flow management, because we don't have all the revenue of the tourism industry players really plummeted from to zero in 2 weeks' time in March 2020. So the cash flow, because we still have the overhead that we have to come. So the cash flow is the main issue. And the second one is the health protocols. So we have to adapt on the services and the product that we going to offer, and the external risk, which is there is so many uncertainty on how and when this pandemic will end. So there's 5 recovery and survival and recovery initiatives that we are doing in the Indonesia Tourism Association. First, we have to do the research and overhaul of the business model. We minimize all the fixed overhead that we need to maintain and survive the business, and we have to gain the confidence of the tourists that we are safe to visit. This also by adopting the health protocols and also socializing and promoting our offerings. Product innovation, of course, and also the optimizing the digital platform and wait and see strategy, which is the collaboration and standby ready whenever the guests or the visitors ready to come. We have to have the ready package, a compelling package that can be attracted to the visitors. The second step will be to improve the supply side. This also one of the blessing in disguise. In a ma'al usri yusra, when there is hardship, also there is ease that we can. During this time, actually, we can improvement the product quality by the support of the government, of course. Yeah, and also to strengthen the halal tourism economic ecosystem. Yeah, this is we're doing the strategic collaboration with the government to improve the readiness of the destination to adapt the new normal era. We also improve the new services towards the tourist behaviors. Yeah, so we adapt to the new normal tourism trends, and of course, one of the most important thing, it is supported by the government. We are certified as the GHSE, the clean, healthy, safe, and environmental sustainability. This is one of the key points on how to gain the confidence of the visitors that it's very safe to visit our destination, our attraction. And of course, after we are improving the supply side, we have to stimulate the demand side of course, has to be done by the support of the government. And on the first step right now, if we are focusing on the domestic market because it's also a big market. It's actually larger than the international visitors market. So we're doing mostly the overland tour, mostly the overland tour, the staycation, vocation, overland tour packages, cultural and heritage, and also mostly the cultural, community-based and sporting events. So in summary, what we have done and what we should do in reviving the tourism industry, specifically the halal tourism, because there are considering the three mega shifts of consumer behavior, which is the more online lifestyle, whether it's work, learn, social, worship, shop, and everything, and also healthy and essential lifestyle. This is the most important thing. Why? Because what COVID-19 pandemic has done to the consumers, especially for the visitors, for the tourism, now they have work-life play balance and well-being revolution. So they are into the wellness. So actually the halalan toiban, healthy and wellness lifestyle is the key for the product, for the tourism that we are offering. Yeah. And the other thing is also, of course, the prudent mobility, the rise of empathy and solidarity, more suffering, more religious, which is all of those mega shift of the consumer behavior is actually in line, matched with the halal tourism characteristic, which is also in line with the Maqasid Syari, which is more into the family-friendly tourism, responsible tourism, inclusive, and more into the privacy and family, the halal lifestyle. Yeah, and the second one is to protect the nafs, the safety and security of the wellness, and also the akal, the third Maqasid Syari, the knowledge, mutual respect and understanding, and of course the cultural heritage and the virtue of legacy of Islam, the Islamic values, and of course the welfare and the betterment of the society. So this is the very, very what you call it, in line with the halal tourism characteristic. So we have to focus on the three things, the three portfolio that we're going to offer for the tourists, which is the nature, wellness, and the culture. And this is also in line with the needs of the megatrend tourism in the new normal. Because why? Because now we are going to the quality tourism, and the halal tourism is actually a quality tourism. Because why? Because most of the Muslim travelers actually spending more than the conventional tourists. You know why? Because mostly they travel in family, and also they are into the experience, so they stay longer. Usually most of the international tourists arrival coming to Indonesia maybe only about 1-2 days on the average, but mostly Muslim travelers is spending about 9 days, at least 1 week in the destination, and they're spending more. On the average, the international tourists coming to Indonesia spending about $1,100 US per tourist per visit. Mostly of the Muslim travelers, they come here, they're spending at least 1,350. Mostly from the Middle East, they're spending about 2,500 per tourist per visit. So this is actually the solution for reviving the tourism industry. And of course, the halal tourism is the trend that have the opportunity to revive faster and better, because we are doing it already. Yeah, so we are the characteristic of that. So in order to do that, I think we also recommend the policy to the government for the sustainable halal tourism development in Indonesia during and post-COVID-19 pandemic, which is the first thing is the strategic initiative, development of legal basis, standardization, certification, institutional and environment. This is to guarantee if they claim it's Muslim friendly, they have to know what Muslim friendly is. Yeah, and also we need also the incentive policy to accelerate the national economic recovery. Yeah, of course, this is also happened in other industry, other emerging market industry, and the ecosystem, strengthening the import system, the capacity through the capacity building, and also improve the competitiveness index, marketing development and innovation of the product and services, which is the marketing outreach of this industry is different than the conventional tourism, the conventional tourism. So the other thing is, of course, this is also that we need, especially as I already mentioned, the main factor is also the cash flow. So the facilitation of the finance and investment of halal tourism is also needed, as also done to the conventional tourism, maybe through the SME Islamic finance like KUR for tourism industry, Sukuk or Muslim friendly investment trust, yeah, or real estate investment trust that is according to the Sharia compliance scheme. And one of the things that is simple that we can also recommend is we are into the development of cultural and community-based tourism, because this will have a bigger impacts on the recovery, because as you know, Indonesia economy is actually 60% of them is backed by the small and medium enterprises. So if we revive through the community-based tourism, like tourism villages, which offer an Islamic experience, a unique experience, this is also will be one of the quick win program that we recommend. So the other thing is also, if the government, like Mandalika, it's a special economic zone, it can be also formed as an integrated halal industry special economic zone and halal tourism destination. The halal Indonesia Halal Showcase will be the tourism and the creative economy. So also this special economic zone of the halal industry with the showcase of the tourism destination is also will be integrated by the livestock, the agro industry, the priority, and then the industry of the pharmaceutical, cosmetics, and everything, and also the support of the growth ecosystem, such as the airport, the halal port, the logistic, and others needed for the industry to revive, especially the tourism industry. So I think that will be all for the teaser of our next discussion. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. May what I convey can be beneficial to all the participants. Thank you. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Bapak Rianto Sofyan, for your insightful speech. Who already highlight how halal tourism become one of industry that is expected to have the faster recovery after COVID-19 crisis, and also he also offer some strategy how to revive tourism industry during the normal period after the COVID-19, including the survival and recovery initiative, improve the supply side and also stimulate the demand side, and also also he highlight how the mega shift of consumer behavior has in line with the halal tourism characteristic, and also this is in line based on the maqasid Sharia itself, and also he offers some strategy how to promote the halal tourism in the during normal period. Okay, now we open a question for the participant who would like to pose question to Pak Rianto speech. Please, anybody would like to pose question to Pak Rianto, you can raise your hand, or maybe you can also write down the question in the chat box. Yeah. Anybody would like to ask question for Pak? Oh, okay. There is a question, Pak. In the chat box, actually, there are some question. First of all, from Chandra Dimuka, is it possible to emerge and take advantage of halal tourism for economic development in Indonesia, as tourism has been identical with free lifestyle? The second question from Arfi Silmi. If we talk a business, it's always talk about the value. So in your opinion, what's the value of Muslim-friendly tourism that could be the common value for citizen, which has differences in religion, ethnicity, etc.? And also, how should we solve the improvement of our agro-culture and agro-business with Islamic economic values? I think 3 questions. Pak Rianto, please. Time's yours.
Okay. First the question from Chandra Dimuka. I think, is it possible to emerge and take advantage of halal tourism for the economic development in Indonesia, as tourism has been identical with free lifestyle? I think it is possible. As I already mentioned in the example, in case of Lombok, actually the economic development over there down into the small medium enterprises like Bu Zainab, it's really possible, because you know why? Because the tourism industry itself is involved 185 business activities. Yeah, all of them are reached by the SME, the small medium enterprises, and then about the free lifestyle. Now is the time that halal tourism is actually goes main to live in more responsible way. Yeah. So when they go traveling, when they go on holiday, they will not go into the maksiat again. All most of the entertainment now come into the family type things, family type of entertainment. The group that they know, the group that they are related to, closely related to. Yeah. So it's not really an open free lifestyle society, and they don't really now. I think they don't want to go have a drink and get drunk, because they will lower their immunity and lower their health. So now is the time for the halal tourism goes mainstream, but they have to what you call it, brand in a way or package in a way to be an inclusive, so it can be it convey the message, the quality of the halal tourism that can be enjoyed by all segments, all tourists, goes beyond their race, religions, and ethnicities. Yeah. So that is my my viewpoints, and it is happening. I think you can see now when everybody, whether it's a Christian, whether it's any people in the world, all over the world, when they go on holiday right now, they use an overland tour. They use a caravan. Yeah, they go with their family, the people they know, the people they have closely related to. Yeah, it's not a free lifestyle anymore. It's more inclusive. In a way, it's a family type. Yeah, and they go to where? They go to the natures. They go camping, they go glamping, or they put into their villas. So that kind of thing is actually happening. Yeah. So maybe also I will talk about the answer the Pak Arfi Silmi question. If we talk business, it's always talk about value. So is it, in my opinion, that's the value. What is the value of Muslim-friendly tourism? That could be common value for citizens. So, as I already mentioned, that is the trend now. They are more into a family type of holiday, more to the wellness, natures, and cultures experience. So it's the halal tourism characteristic. It's the same characteristic. So that's why we have to what you call it, package it, branding it in a way to maintain the inclusivity. So everyone can understand. So then don't use what you call it, only languages or message that only can be understood by the Muslim, but has to be also can be understood by non-Muslim that is really doesn't know. Yeah. Before the pandemic itself, I give you an example. In Antalya, one of the resort place in Turkey, yeah, they have a lot of plenty resorts, hotels that have three kind of beaches: a special beach for women, special beach for family, and special beach for men. Yeah, you know who is the customer coming to that resort? It's mostly also non-Muslim, because they know if they go to that resort place, they feel safe. They don't have to worry that their daughter will be annoyed or will be what you call it, harassed by a drunk people. Yeah. So this type of family-friendly holiday or tourism is actually a trend of the world also. I think you can see in the halalbooking.com, one of the eight, the halal, I mean, booking.com. Booking.com is a conventional OTA, online travel agent. You can see that they have also now the feature of family-friendly hotels, family-friendly destination, and everything. So family-friendly is actually halal tourism. Yeah. So it's a responsible tourism. And that is the common value needed by all kind, So just like what Allah mentioned in the Quran, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا كَافَةً لِلنَّاسِ. It's for all, not for just Muslim. Yeah. So there's a lot of common values, but we have to be smart to present it, to package it in such a way that can be understood and accepted by non-Muslim also. Yeah. And then the third one is how to improve our agro with Islamic economies. I think one of the things that this agro business is not really my field, but only I can have the opinion on what is related to the tourism. I think agro is also one of the attraction right now. You know why? Because when people want to go into the holiday, they want to be a wellness. I think the farm, yeah, that's a very interesting place to attract, because they can also pick their own fruits. Maybe they can also cook their own food and everything. So this is one of the things. But the thing is now this is also the priority. The food safety, food security, I think one of the challenging issue that we have to address, especially in this pandemic time, because the challenges in the logistic, because of the traveling is there is a lot of restriction right now. So this kind of thing is also the chance for the agro business done by the Islamic compliance. I think one of the changes that also can be the leader of the reviving the economy. I think that's all what I can say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pak. Maybe two more questions. One more is why we need still also halal pot or air pot beside halal food, and then the second one from University of Malikus Saleh. Aceh has been become the tourism destination province, implemented Islamic Sharia, which is synergic with the development of tourism itself. What is the challenge for Aceh as the tourism destination that apply Islamic Sharia? Pak Rianto, please.
Okay. One of the things why we need the halal port and the halal airport and things like that. Actually, the halal port that we need, because it's one of the halal value chain. You know why? When we export or import a halal product, say a halal meat, right? Usually they put into a container, a cold storage container. So just imagine if you put a halal meat into a cold storage container, and then there is another clients for that logistic company that needs to put pork into the same halal container. So there is a risk of contaminating the halal products from the non-halal products. So that's why we have to have the halal value chain from the beginning, from how we produce. So we have to make sure there is no contamination process from the non-halal thing to the halal products. And also from the logistic point of view, when they have to transport the halal products and also to store, to keep the halal products in the storage. So they have to have a halal port, halal warehouse, and also halal transportation. And for the airport, also the same thing. Say if you have to do a transit and you have to wait for about one hour, or 1 or 2 hours in the airport, you have to drink and eat. If you don't have any halal restaurant, so how are you going to do that? So that's this kind of thing is one of the three main aspects of the tourism, which is one for the tourism industry. There's halal food chain, but for the halal industry, for the tourism industry, there are three parts that we have to address. Which one? The first thing is the attraction. So, do you have any facilities and services that is needed from the Muslim travelers? The second one is the amenities, which is the restaurant, the hotels, the accommodation, and everything. Do you have that that is friendly to the Muslim travelers? And the third one is the accessibilities. So when you go by train, when you go by flight, can you access the halal food? Can you do prayers in the bus, in the train? How are you going to do that? And do you have information on what are the things that you need as a Muslim to be provided during the transportation? Yeah, so this is the things that why also you have to be halal port, halal airport, and everything. And the second, the other question is from the Aceh. As one of tourism has implemented Islamic Sharia, which is synergic with the development of tourism itself. What do you think about the challenges? Well, the challenges is one of the key things that all of the successful tourism destination is the what you call it, the pentahelix stakeholders. Yeah, the community, the people in the destination has to be aware, has to be open to the tourists, and has to also have the what you call it, a kind hospitality. You know, actually, the kind hospitality is the character of a Muslim, because we have a hadith mentioned that falyukrim doifahu. Yeah, you have to honor your guests. Yeah, one of the destination like in Pakistan is in Peshawar. Even they go into the more to extent that if a tourist come to buy their food or their merchandise, they give it away. That's one of the one of the implementation. So this kind of things has to be what you call it, capitalized. Has to be. This is one also what you call it as dakwah bilhal, as our ways of honoring our guests. Yeah, and one of the thing also that has been experienced in Lombok, actually one of the film star celebrities that stayed in Lombok, and then she got sick. No one's no one cared, but the people care and take care of her until she get well. So this kind of hospitality and the local wisdom and the Muslim lifestyle, the Islamic values, this has to be presented and has to be aware by the pentahelix stakeholders, which is the academician, the business players. ABC is the community, the people, and then the government, and also the media. So everything is everyone, the stakeholder is aware. So that's why the tourists really feel welcome in the destination. That is also, we can learn why Bali is a successful destination. It's like that. They are selling their culture, the Hindu culture, but the whole pentahelix stakeholders, the people, is really care when to serve the tourists, to the guests. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bapak Rianto Sofyan. What a very inspiring speech and also discussion. Yeah. I think we can conclude that COVID-19 has affected all aspects of life, and then the mega shift of consumer behavior has been in line, with the characteristic of halal tourism that emphasize on nature, wellness, and culture. So I think this is the momentum for halal tourism. Yeah. The challenge is how to brand and package halal tourism with the inclusivity that address not only Muslim but also all people regardless of their differences in terms of religion and ethnicity. So that's all the important point that Pak Rianto has already delivered to us. Again, Pak Rianto, thank you very much for your insightful speech. On behalf of the committee, we would like to deliver our highest appreciation and gratitude for all your inspiring speech today. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khairan kathiran, Pak Rianto Sofyan.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for still attending this international webinar. We will come to the last but not least, the international webinar that will be delivered by Bapak Harza Sandi Sanditio Ishaq, the co-founder and then Chief Operating Officer of Alami Fintech with the topic Fintech Sharia in Indonesia. Pak Harza, you are welcome, Pak Harza. Pak Harza. Has Pak Harza here? Pak Harza Sanditio? Committee, can anybody help to? Oh, okay. Pak Harza has already here in. Okay, welcome, Pak Harza. Thank you very much for attending and then become one of the speaker for this international conference, and different from the three previous international webinar delivered in the form of the seminar. But in this last international webinar, we will have like a live discussion, live talk show with Pak Harza. And okay, I don't know whether would you like to present the profile of the Alam Fintech first before we come to the talk show, or we come directly to the talk show?
We can go directly to the talk show. It's okay.
Okay. Pak Harza, would you like to tell us about your fintech, Alami Fintech, the company profile, and also the how is the nature and also the canvas business model of your fintech, Alami Fintech, please?
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, fellow speakers, moderator, MC, academics, professors, lecturers, students, and also webinar participants. Thank you for the opportunity on this webinar. So yeah, I'll explain some, and answer some questions, and also, convey several points. Okay. The first question is about Alami. I'll explain a bit about Alami and what Alami is and what we are doing right now. And then perhaps for the moderator, can I have several minutes to explain a bit about fintech, as requested by me.
Yeah,
so,
please.
Thank you. The question, what is Alami? Okay, just brief explanatory about Alami. Alami is a Sharia compliant fintech established and based in Indonesia, which envisions to bring back the glory of Islamic finance in Indonesia and also to the world with the use of technology, inshallah. So a few years back in 2018, we launched Alami P2P platform, and in 2020, we acquired a rural bank and rebranded into Hijrah Bank, which is a sponsor in this webinar, international webinar, and inshallah, we will launch it somewhere near in the future. So we're excited for the Hijrah Bank product, and you can also start to apply for the waiting list to be the first one to reach it in hijrah.id. So you can register and become first users by registering in hijrah.id. Okay, Bismillah. So the topic of today that has been given to me by this international webinar is related to fintech, and especially Islamic fintech or fintech Sharia, right? So I just want to open my this talk show and also this webinar on just asking a very simple question that I've been asked a lot. What is fintech actually about? And also, this is I see there's a lot of millennials and Gen Z here. So of course, it's very easy to find a definition from Google and also from your smartphones. What is fintech? There's a lot of definitions and so on, pages of definitions. But let me present to you or explain to you a bit on a practical and industry perspective, and some stories of and a few of my takeaways. A few months back, a friend asked me to introduce about fintech to her and her colleagues about what is fintech actually is. And she actually worked in a financial industry, a conventional one, not a fintech. So I explained about the business model and what we were doing, and then we came into a conclusion that it's actually very similar between conventional financial institution and also fintech, because we understand that both fintech and also conventional financial institution. I mean, conventional financial institution is by the banks and also all this branch and everything. Both fintech and conventional financial institution do business related to fintechs. They're both the same. They're also both highly regulated. In Indonesia, it's by OJK, and then there's also BI on the capital market. There's a Bursa Efek Indonesia, right? So fintech is the same. Fintech is also regulated by OJK. There's a lot of actually a lot of regulations that's govern on the fintechs. And also, the third point is actually a lot of banks, a lot of this conventional finance institution, also insurance, they have technology as well, right? So it's basically a lot of them is the same. So the next question will be, how is fintech different than the conventional financial institutions? So fintech, as its definition, financial technology, upholds technology in running its business models, which impacts several matters in its operations. So I think there's at least 3 points that I want to convey that differentiate between fintechs and also this this conventional financial institutions. First of all, is the development. How we develop a product is really different with these conventional financial institutions. We start with the technology instead of the business model, and we work around the technology and how the technology can support the operational, and also how it can become very easy to use by the end users or the customers. That's the first related to the development. And then secondly is related to operations, which I also mentioned. It's really different how to run a fintech company, and also comparing to how to run a conventional financial institution. As we know, like the old banks, they have a lot of branch, which nowadays also they are closing their banks. But if in nowadays term, there's a lot of a lot of banks that are trying to become a digital, which we can say it's a fintech. They don't want to have a lot of branch, so it's more on the online presence instead of the offline presence, right? So the fintechs will optimize an automation instead of manual process. So which this manual process can become very manpower heavy. Jadi sangat berat ya secara kebutuhannya. Usually this is why fintechs is more agile. Fintechs is more agile usually. Okay, and then that's the first one is development. Second is operations, and the third one is scalability. About scalability, because with technology, users can or customers can simply grab their smartphones. They can grab their smartphones, and with some few clicks and just some photos and uploads, these forms and everything is all digital. And so it's basically anyone from anywhere with smartphones are actually potential users. Comparing with when people want to open a bank account or they want to do basic transactions in the branches, it's really inconvenient, and everything can now be done with a smartphone. So yeah, on the conventional part, they mostly rely much upon on people on offline interactions. Okay. So that's the difference between fintech and also conventional business. Okay, I've seen some chats about the presentation. This is more a talk show, but I can provide you with the transcript later to the committee. Okay, So I have explained to you what fintech is and how fintech is different with the conventional financial institutions. I just want to add and also explain a bit about fintech in Indonesia. So I've seen several waves in the fintech in Indonesia. The first one came in early 2012, 2000 until somewhere about 2016. This is, I think, the first wave of fintech in Indonesia, in my opinion. So there's a lot of investors coming in. There's a lot of fintechs established during this period. Also, there are a few fintech regulations that are in place by OJK and also Bank Indonesia, of course. And also the second wave of fintech in Indonesia is actually nowadays, which is between 2019, 2021, or present day, of course, until, I don't know, in a few years ahead. It's actually an interesting period because we see a lot of fintechs booming and having a very good evaluation and also very good tractions being widely used by a lot of people, like digital banking, payment gateway, and also cashless transaction is almost everywhere, especially in the big cities. The other indicator of the second wave of fintech is actually fintechs are now maturing and having merger and acquisition, and also acquiring like GoPay and OVO is very, very widely used in especially big cities. And also investors are seeing Indonesia's fintech as a really good opportunity. Several weeks back, we heard that Ajaib was becoming a unicorn in Indonesia, new unicorn, and also Zendit, which both are fintechs, interestingly. And of course, more and more use case of fintechs in Indonesia. There's branchless banking, ada cashless transaction, and so on and so on. So I think the takeaway here is actually during the pandemic, during the COVID-19, there's a shift of behavior. Ada perubahan perilaku from offline becoming online of people in Indonesia, and are being more and more reluctant. Misalkan people are not wanting to go to the bank karena nggak bisa social distancing, nggak bisa physical distancing, and so on. And also they have to queue, and then the cash is everywhere and everything. It's very uncomfortable for them nowadays, especially the younger ones. And also seeing from the big cities, especially in Jakarta and Greater Jakarta as well, the cashless transaction is being more and more usual, and also it's an all-time high, and it's becoming a norm yet, especially in big cities. So present day, I think we are in the second wave of fintech, and it's really interesting. And I think fintech is only going to be bigger and bigger in the next few years, or in the near future. So I've mentioned about fintech, what is fintech and fintech in Indonesia, and then I just want to trigger a question which we can discuss later. Which is, how about Islamic fintech, right? Where are the Islamic fintechs? So that's why we created Alami, and I think with the hypothesis of technology is really scalable, I think technology can bring back Islamic finance in the map, and bring back Islamic finance to a big glory. So and also I would like to challenge Islamic finance in general as well. Should be with technology it can pick its pace, and also we should we need to kita harus mengejar lah ketertinggalan kita sama dengan conventional banking atau conventional keuangan konvensional. Inshallah. So that's for discussion later, but I just want to close with challenges being faced by fintech lastly, because I've mentioned about fintech and the opportunities and also the future, but there's a lot of challenge as well. I think the biggest challenge of them all is actually financial literacy and education. So there's a lot of people with smartphones in Indonesia, and which we are one of the highest smartphone users in the world. Unfortunately, it doesn't go hand by hand with financial literate people in Indonesia. So this is a very big homework for us all and the stakeholders, and including the government of Republic Indonesia, the regulators, including OJK, Bank Indonesia, Bursa Efek Indonesia, Bapeti, the financial institution themselves, including fintechs juga, and also the community and the users. We need to upscale our financial literacy and financial education. This includes, of course, Islamic financial literacy, which hopefully the academics can play a bigger role, including by holding this sort of seminars and educating people more on financial literacy. Okay, the challenge-nya tadi satu adalah financial literacy, literasi keuangan, and then the second one is the misuse of technology, penyalahgunaan teknologi. Jadi technology is like a knife. It can be useful, but it can also harm people. As a misuse, we've seen a lot of data breach, di mana kebocoran data itu terjadi di mana-mana, sehingga I think it's really important how a lack of security and technology is going to be an issue, a hot topic in the future as well. And also an interesting case of misuse of technology is banyaknya pinjol ilegal ya. This is a misuse of technology. This is in compliance, sangat melanggar peraturan, banyak sekali peraturan yang diganggu. And also this is a big worry for Indonesia nowadays, and also the government, and also all stakeholders itu sudah memperhatikan ya. Ini pinjol ilegal ini menjadi diskusi yang sangat hangat hari ini di mata kepolisian, semua OJK, Kominfo, pengadilan juga, itu juga menjadi sesuatu yang menarik ya. So sedang diberantas, and we hope in a few years, inshallah Indonesia will become better without this pinjol illegal, because actually pinjol illegal is online rentenir. It's the same thing with online rentenir yang menurut hemat saya adalah riba ya, betul-betul riba. Mungkin itu dulu. I would be open for some questions, and also happy to hear some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Harza. I don't know. Actually, the committee give me some more question. Would you like to address the question, or would you like to open the question for the participants? Pak Harza, yeah, the committee give me some more question.
Thank you. I cannot unmute myself. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Please help
me.
Yeah.
Yes. Would you like to open the question for the participant, or would you like to continue with some question given to me by the committee?
We can have the question from the participants. It's okay.
Okay. Now, Pak Harza has already opened the question for the participant. Anybody would like to pose question to Pak Harza regarding financial technology, and especially Alami Fintech, the fintech that led by Pak Harza and the team?
If there's no question, you can ask me the ones from the...
Yes. Yeah, we can come to the next question. Would you please tell us about the development of the Alami Fintech in Indonesia, the potential, the opportunity, and the challenge, and also the strategy that Alami Fintech adopt in recovering from the crisis of the pandemic, and also what is the role of the Alami Fintech in Indonesian economy? to contribute for the development of our nation. Please, Pak Harza.
Okay, thank you. So the reason, before I answer, the reason why I talk a bit in Indonesia, because I was informed by the committee it's okay to speak in bahasa, so I'm a bit confused now. But I'm just gonna
yes,
mix.
Please. Yes,
Saya
please.
mix aja ya between
Ya,
English.
silakan Pak.
Karena ini international webinar, tapi pesertanya ini ya, jadi Indonesia. Jadi kita ini ya local pride lah. Ya. So yeah. Mau info aja, just a bit about Alami. Alhamdulillah kita terbentuk dari 2017, dalam waktu yang singkat alhamdulillah kita dapat izin peer-to-peer ya. Kita memang dari awal we envision bagaimana teknologi ini bisa membantu Islamic finance yang sebelumnya market share-nya hanya segitu-segitu saja, only 5%, 6%. Can we help to scale this, membuat ini menjadi lebih besar? Padahal kita tahu, kita yakin, kita mengimani gitu ya bahwa tentunya yang datang dari Allah itu pasti yang paling baik gitu ya, itu keuangan syariah. Dalam hal keuangan tentunya keuangan syariah. Jadi dengan visi tersebut kita bentuk Alami dari 2017. And kita awalnya bergerak di peer-to-peer lending yang kita membantu menyalurkan dana kepada yang membutuhkan. Kita salurkan kepada sektor produktif. Kita sudah menyalurkan kurang lebih 1 triliun per bulan ini September 2021, dan alhamdulillah di tahun ini, di tahun 2021 ini we acquired a rural bank in Jakarta. We rebranded into Hijrah Bank. Inshallah, we will launch it in the near future. It's a digital first banking, so everyone can open their account from the applications. They can do digital transactions, and inshallah, it's all Sharia compliance. The akad will be wadi'ah, inshallah. So it's 0% and no riba in it, and we aspire to be the biggest Islamic fintech in the world. Hope that answers your questions.
That's quite big, yeah. 1 trillion rupiah in September 2020. Quite big, and alhamdulillah. Wow, congratulations. Okay. And then maybe you can tell us about the challenge in in fintech industry. What are the opportunity and the challenge facing by the player of the fintech industry, Pak Harza, especially Alami Fintech?
Yeah, as I mentioned in my speech just now, it's more on the literacy ya. Ini saya sampaikan dalam bahasa Indonesia mungkin. Jadi menarik sekali bahwa di Indonesia ini sudah banyak pengguna smartphone. I think ada 260 participants di sini, nggak mungkin nggak pakai smartphone karena ini pakai Zoom gitu kan, nggak mungkin pakai Nokia jadul gitu ya. It's highly unlikely. But the next question gitu ya, ketika kita ngomongin smartphone, harusnya itu kan semua sudah bisa smart juga mencari tahu misalkan bagaimana mengelola uang, bagaimana terkait hal-hal yang terkait dengan financial literacy. Ternyata financial literacy berdasarkan survei yang saya pelajari itu masih sangat rendah sekali. Jadi penggunaan smartphone tidak berbanding lurus dengan memang masih PR yang sangat besar adalah memberikan literasi keuangan yang sangat baik kepada masyarakat Indonesia ya. Dan ini juga sebenarnya yang membuat banyak, sayangnya ya, kita lihat itu ya, tadi juga saya sudah mention sedikit tentang pinjol. Banyak teman-teman kita atau ya itu di sekitar kita ya, saya juga punya di depan mata saya juga ada gitu ya, kerabat gitu ya yang terjerat dalam hutang pinjol. Padahal mungkin secara pendidikan dia baik, tapi mungkin literasi keuangannya ternyata kurang. Dan jadi memang bagaimana kita meningkatkan literasi keuangan ini ya. kita mengedukasi, memberikan pemahaman, mungkin dengan webinar-webinar seperti ini, dan juga penjelasan-penjelasan bahwa teknologi itu bisa baik, tapi bisa juga jahat, gitu kan. Nah, ini balik lagi ke diri kita ya, bagaimana kita memanfaatkan dengan baik teknologi itu, termasuk fintech ya, atau financial technology. Itu tantangan terberatnya di situ. Kemudian kalau berbicara terkait dengan keuangan syariah sendiri, itu juga sama. Kita melihatnya bahwa misalkan dalam proses perjalanan hijrah, Bu Nur Hidayah, orang bisa hijrah, tadinya mungkin katakan tidak baik menjadi baik gitu ya, atau paling gampang ya yang secara fisikal tuh misalkan tadi tidak menggunakan hijab menjadi menggunakan hijab misalkan gitu ya. Kemudian tadinya sholatnya bolong menjadi 5 waktu gitu kan. Dia sudah bisa menjalani ini semua, tapi sudah mulai hijrah, tapi ternyata hijrah finansial itu urutannya paling terakhir. Jadi dia tidak melakukan hijrah secara keuangannya dia, jadi masih banyak melakukan kegiatan ribawi, maisir atau goror gitu ya, baik dengan menggunakan produk-produk konvensional dan lain sebagainya. Jadi secara proses dan psikologis dan juga karakter sosiologis di masyarakat ternyata seperti ini. Jadi tadi sih terkait dengan literasi itu penting sekali ya, bagaimana kita mengedukasi dan terus menggalakkan nih bahwa financial literacy dan khususnya keuangan syariah itu sih Bu.
Oke, baik Pak Harza, ini sudah ada pertanyaan di kolom chat ya dari Ibu Nurjana Mario. Izin bertanya, bagaimana mekanisme pengambilan atau mengambil pembiayaan untuk usaha? Mungkin terkait di fintech alami kali ya yang dimaksud. Silakan Pak Harza.
Baik, terima kasih pertanyaannya. Jadi kita memang peer-to-peer lending kita menengahi ya sebagai platform yang menyelenggarakan pendanaan, menengahi antara yang kelebihan uang, artinya dia mendanai, dan juga membutuhkan ya pendanaan atau membutuhkan financing, dan tadi kita sudah menyalurkan 1 triliun. Nah, dari sisi yang menerima saat ini, usaha yang kita terima, produknya kita masih invoice-nya kita masih, produknya kita masih fokus kepada invoice financing. Jadi kita menyalurkannya kepada PT-PT atau CV atau badan hukum lainnya yang sudah berdiri, sudah established, memiliki invoice dari payernya yang membutuhkan tempo, kadang butuh waktu untuk pembayaran sehingga dapat memperlancar cash flow-nya. Itu kami ada tim khusus untuk mencari para penerima-penerima yang baik dan juga bisa apply secara online di website kami di alamisharia.co.id. Seperti itu.
Jadi memang segmennya yang sudah memiliki usaha ya Pak ya, tidak individu-individu, tidak konsumer financing.
Betul Bu. Kita produktif dan juga badan hukum ya.
Oke. Next question nih Pak, from Pak Eri Wirandana ya. I would suggest before we start from financial literacy, can we also start from profile form literacy or guidance? It would be nice for someone have interest in Sharia fintech investment but have problem in user experience registration in Alami funding Sharia applications. Ya, jadi mungkin ini juga terkait dengan bagaimana penggunaan aplikasinya bisa user friendly nih Pak. Silakan Pak Harza.
I thank you very much Pak Eri for being a customer and this is a feedback for us. Ini I think the profile form literacy is a good idea. It's something already being used in the capital market ya untuk mengetahui ininya ya profil resiko ya kurang lebih ya berarti. Agree. I think this is something we will take into consideration Pak. And also just a few days ago we had a discussion internally on this untuk memperbaiki user experience on the platform, and hopefully we can deliver inshallah, Pak.
Thank you.
Pak.
Yeah. Okay.
Alhamdulillah.
Oh, alhamdulillah ya, Pak Eri ya, is my student in the doctoral program at FAB, yeah, at our faculty. Okay, anybody would like to ask question to Pak Harza Sandityo? So Pak Harza, if is the Alami Fintech limited only on the banking services? Or do you also offer some scheme for the investment, like for example, like the share or stock or mutual fund, reksadana? Thank you.
For now, our license itu peer-to-peer lending, Bu. Jadi yang bisa dilakukan di aplikasi kami saat ini masih terbatas, memberikan pendanaan kepada yang sudah kita kurasi tadi, PT yang sudah kita kurasi. Jadi Bapak Ibu bisa mendanai project-project yang sudah kami kurasi tadi secara langsung. Jadi ini direct investment, Bu. Jadi langsung berikan kepada yang ingin Ibu berikan gitu ya, yang sesuai dengan profil resikonya Ibu atau Bapak. Itu ya, tapi kedepannya tentunya kita ingin menyasar ke yang lain juga, Bu, mungkin reksadana ataupun segala macam yang selama dia memang Sharia compliance ya, itu kan menjadi backbone kita, itu harus justru kita kan ingin memajukan ekonomi syariah insya Allah, Bu. Dan sebagai salah satu langkah kami, tadi saya juga sudah mention, kita lagi sedang build, Bu, namanya Hijrah Bank. Hijrah Bank bisa dicek di webnya itu hijrah.id. Di situ bisa waiting list untuk untuk dapat menjadi first users. Jadi nanti kalau sudah launch, insya Allah dalam waktu yang dekat, insya Allah itu yang yang daftar di waiting list ini, insya Allah jadi yang paling terdepan. Insya Allah nanti kita ingin jadi salah satu digital first syariah bank di Indonesia, Bu. Seperti itu.
Ya, luar biasa ya. Ini the first digital bank, the first Islamic digital bank in Indonesia, ya Pak Harza. Hijrah Bank. Okay, that's hijrah.id. Okay, anybody would like to ask Pak Harza about fintech and also Pak Al-Mawardi, yeah, you read a sentence. What do you mean here? Focus to the presentation on financial literacy.
Yeah, on my speech earlier, I will give the committee my transcript, and perhaps it can be distributed to the participants. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. For the schemes, yeah, for example, we would like to be the investor in Alami Fintech. Yeah, what schemes does Alami Fintech offer? Is it mudoroba, musyarakah, yeah, or maybe like for example istisna or salam? What kind of akad are over in Alami Fintech?
Okay, there are two main products. The first one is the ecosystem, or it's basically murabaha. We give it to the fish farmers atau petani ikan ya. Kita kerjasama, Bu, dengan e-fishery namanya. Itu juga kita sudah banyak di platform kita. Jadi kalau Ibu tertarik dengan memberikan bantuan kepada petani ikan gitu ya, memberikan pendanaan kepada petani ikan, itu bisa daftar. Kemudian tadi yang saya mention juga invoice financing, itu kita menggunakan wakalabil ujroh.
Okay, yeah. So there are two main scheme, yeah, or akad, yeah, used by Alami Fintech, murabaha, especially for the ecosystem, and also wakalah bil ujroh for the invoice financing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and then would you like to tell us the average return usually get by investor in Alami Fintech?
Okay, the return is variative, but it's setara equivalent to the ujroh ya. The ujroh is equivalent to 13 in between 12 until 18% per annum. 12 until 18. So it's very good, competitive. It's beyond other asset ya, class asset, and also inshallah it's moderately safe, and also the angle is also you can give directly to the productive sector gitu ya. Jadi instead of misalkan kalau ke bank itu kan menjadi deposan, dana Anda ditampung oleh bank yang menyalurkan. Nah, ini Anda dapat memilih kepada siapa Anda memberikan, gitu kan, dengan tentunya profil resiko masing-masing. Seperti itu sih.
Yeah, so like direct investment ya Pak,
yes,
to the real sector.
Yes,
okay.
It's direct investment to the real sector, exactly.
Yeah, and how about the tenure, the period? How long is the investment?
So this is a good question, but the tenure is somewhat between 1 month until 6 months. So that's the usual. Usually it's between 1 month until 6 months because and everybody is different. Some people want to have it have the longer one. Some people want to have it short. But you can choose. Again, there's a lot of variety in our platform, and we want to bring more and more people who needs financing to the platform. So people who wants to give the financing can actually choose which types of investment atau pendanaan yang mereka ingin kasih, seperti itu.
Yeah, it's quite appealing, yeah. Quite high margin, 12 until 18 per annum, yeah. And also the tenure is quite shorter, yeah, 1 until 6 months. How about the risk? How about the risk of the investment in Alami Fintech, and what is the risk management of Fintech Adopt, yeah?
Yeah,
Alami Fintech.
Alhamdulillah, during our tenure since the beginning until today, we've disbursed more than 1 trillion rupiah, 1 triliun rupiah with zero NPL. Kalau di P2P lending itu ada perhitungannya TKB atau tingkat keberhasilan bayar ya, itu diukur dalam waktu 90 hari. Itu kita masih 100%, alhamdulillah. Apakah ada yang telat? Ada. Alhamdulillah ada gitu ya, banyak biasanya, bukan banyak, ada beberapa yang telat karena biasanya ada urusan teknis, ada misalkan waktu itu awal pandemi, so payernya cannot pay on time because they're still working from home gitu ya. So there's risk ya. Ini ya harus hambatan segala macam. Ada resiko yang paling besar tentunya of course resiko gagal bayar yang bisa disebabkan beberapa hal. Tapi kita tentunya we mitigate the risk with several factors ya. Kita ada beberapa pengamanan dengan jaminan yang berbentuk post direct check, PDC ya, dan juga personal guarantee, sehingga kita bisa eksekusi ya kepada rekening banknya dia ketika ada telat bayar, seperti itu Bu.
Okay. Would you please elaborate more on the collateral that Alami Fintech taken from the financing customer?
Yeah. So we have the post-debt check.
What is it? Can you explain?
Ini seperti cek ya Bu ya. It's like a check that they give to our team, and also we have a personal guarantee (PG). So the difference between fintech and also the conventional banking is, of course, we have a higher margin of return, but it's more, we don't have a apa ya namanya, collateral yang berbentuk hard ya, atau physical collateral. Jadi bagaimana kita bisa mengeksekusinya dengan cepat, justru itu. Dan we see risk mitigation itu bagaimana bisa membentuk produk yang aman, seperti tadi nih, misalkan fish farmers tadi, kalau ada terlambat bayar itu sudah ada off-taker-nya. Terus invoice financing kita juga ada beberapa strategi sehingga ada keterlambatan tapi bisa diatasi. Seperti itu sih.
How big are the customer for the deposit customer and also for the financing customer?
Okay. The financing for the starts from 1 million. So, jadi seperti petani ikan itu biasanya tidak terlalu besar ya, mulai dari 5 juta, tapi ada juga yang besar sampai puluhan atau ratusan juta juga sudah ada. Jadi mereka semakin bertumbuh jadi semakin besar juga, alhamdulillah. Tapi ya mulai dari 5 juta kalau nggak salah. Kita mulai dari 5 juta. Tapi untuk yang invoice financing sendiri tentunya lebih besar, itu pasti secara rata itu kurang lebih di 500 juta, Bu. Tapi ada yang 1M, ada yang 2M juga, jadi cukup besar ininya. Sedangkan untuk yang memberikan dananya, yang mau invest gitu, itu bisa mulai dari 1 juta, tapi di bulan ini kita lagi turunkan ke 500.000 untuk startnya, Bu, ya, seperti itu.
Okay, and then we go to the chat box here. There is a question. Please tell us, is mudoroba akad free from riba? And also from Almari, could you explain to us what is the role of hijrah.id in empowerment of the independence of the economy of the poor? Yes.
I think for the first question, Bu Nur Hidayah lebih pas untuk menjawab. But on the second one, I think this is interesting ya. Sharia finance should be the frontier to overcome kemiskinan ya. Bagaimana kita sepakat bahwa di Alami dan Hijrah sepakat bagaimana kita bisa mengatasi Islamic finance itu harus berperan dalam mengatasi kemiskinan, seperti itu. I think salah satunya tadi ya, dengan direct investment tadi, it's a really good system. That's why kita juga mencoba tidak hanya invoice financing yang besar-besar, tapi yang kecil-kecil kita juga masuk kepada petani ikan. Kita nanti mau coba juga ke warung segala macam. Itu kan kita berikan direct, tentunya dengan segala macam resikonya. Kita juga bantu bagaimana pengamanannya dari sisi alaminya. Ini adalah kontribusi dari kami ya. Kami melihatnya sebagai kontribusi dari kami untuk memberantas kemiskinan. Jadi kedepannya juga di Hijrah itu juga Bank Hijrah insya Allah juga akan ada beberapa inisiatif, termasuk inisiatif wakaf ya, dan tentunya Ziswaf lah ya, yang terkait dengan Ziswaf. Kita juga sudah mulai bergerak ke arah UPZ, so I think there's a lot of roles yang bisa dimainkan oleh financial technology, fintech untuk bisa memberantas atau paling nggak mengurangi kemiskinan, seperti itu.
Yeah, it's quite big opportunity. Yeah, I think Alami later on can be developed into one-stop digital Islamic finance in Indonesia. Yeah. Amin. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Harza Sandityo, for your inspiring speech. And on behalf of the committee, we would like to deliver our highest gratitude and our invited speaker in our international webinar. Once again, jazakumullah khairan katsiran. Yeah, and then please big applause for Pak Harza. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the close. Maybe Pak Harza, would you like to make a closing statement? No, okay. Yeah, we come to the last session, the conclusion, I think we have had already four great speaker in the afternoon. In this afternoon, the first one from Mr. Azim Kidway, the chairman of the National Zakat Foundation Worldwide, with the topic halal lifestyle, redefining our relationship with wealth, and we already learned from his speech that COVID-19 pandemic has become a momentum for us to reevaluate our life priority, and then we cannot still think about ourselves, but we also have to think that the wealth that Allah grant us has to be contributed, has been to distributed to others, so our life can be beneficial not only for ourselves, for our family, but also for the community and for the ummah. And this is what actually Islam, Allah, and our Prophet has already taught us in the halal value of Islam. And also from Mr. Dr. Syed Mr. Abdurrahman Shah from the University of Engineering and Technology, Taxila, Pakistan, with the topic strengthening Islamic banking in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. We learned that from the case of the Pakistan, Islamic banking and also Islamic financial industry in Pakistan has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, but during this COVID-19, they is still progressing well, and this is also because of the Sharia inclusion and also Sharia compliance schemes of the Islamic financial industry. And also from Pak Rianto Sofyan, we also learn much about how to revive halal tourism in the normal period after the COVID-19 pandemic, and he is quite optimistic that halal tourism can make much benefit in the post-pandemic era, where there has been a mega shift in the consumer behavior that will emphasize on the responsibility of our lifestyle, which is in line with the halal tourism that emphasize on the nature, on the culture, and also on the wellness and the welfare of the community. And the last one from Bapak Harza Sandityo, the co-founder of the Alami Fintech. We also learn how is the business model of the fintech Sharia, especially with the case of the Alami Fintech, which is found since 2017, 2017, and then until now it has been disbursed around 1 trillion rupiah for the fish farmer and also for the invoice financing. So maybe anyone would like to have a direct investment, we can also become one of the customer of the fintech Alami Sharia. I think that's all. I think the conclusion, we know that actually Islamic economic and Islamic finance has already developed, and also we learned that COVID-19 pandemic give us a very best lesson that we cannot emphasize only on the economic value of our life and of also our economic development, but we also have to think about the responsibility for the community surround us and also for the environment where we live, including the nature where we live now. So COVID-19 pandemic has been the momentum for Islamic economic and Islamic finance to gain the momentum to build our economy, to build our civilization based on the responsibility, not only emphasizes on the economic value, economic development, but also on the welfare of the people and also the sustainability of our environment. I think that's all from me as the moderator. On behalf of the committee, we would like to deliver our highest appreciation and our highest gratitude for all the distinguished speaker for sharing us their knowledge, their expertise, and their experience, and also for all the committee and also for all the participant who has already participated for our 3 days webinar. Inshallah, tomorrow we will continue for our last day. And on behalf of the moderator, I would like to take a deep apology if there are some inconveniences during the session that I lead. Jazakumullah khairan kathiran. Billahi taufiq walidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, I transfer the speaker to the MC, please. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nur Hidayah. Before we move to the next agenda, we would like to say thank you very much for all the speaker, for the moderator, and all participants for your enthusiasm for joining the second day of Sharia Economic Festival. This event couldn't be happened without those who generously helped. So we're going to watch another sponsors video. For the committee, you can take the lead.
Kamu pernah merasa bimbang atau bahkan takut menyampaikan gagasan? Ingin membuat perubahan tapi tidak tahu cara memulainya? Gimana sih memotivasi tim supaya solid? Atau kamu pernah merasa di titik keraguan apakah dirimu layak memimpin atau tidak? Keraguan, ketakutan, dan kebingungan bisa datang kapan saja. Lalu harus gimana? Cara mencari solusi belum pernah juga dipelajari di sekolah atau kuliah. Saatnya kamu belajar kepemimpinan. Pemimpin.id hadir sebagai tempat untuk mengembangkan kapasitas diri dan belajar kepemimpinan. Menjadi teman untuk mencari solusi, berinovasi, dan berkontribusi. Bersama Pemimpin.id, kita belajar untuk bertumbuh, memompa semangat untuk saling berbagi, dan menebar manfaat dengan saling memberdayakan. Karena kami percaya, semua orang adalah pemimpin. Indonesia membutuhkan lebih banyak pemimpin baik seperti kamu. Yuk, belajar bersama Pemimpin.id. Temukan kami di platform media sosial favoritmu.
Dengan kemajuan teknologi saat ini, berbagai kebutuhan manusia dapat terpenuhi secara efektif dan efisien. Aplikasi smartphone menjadi hal yang tidak terlepas dalam kehidupan sehari-hari kamu. BBO hadir untuk memenuhi berbagai aspek kebutuhanmu. Ada apa saja di dalam BBO? BBO Events, cocok untuk kamu yang gak mau ketinggalan tentang event terbaru. BBO Jobs, cocok untuk kamu yang mencari pekerjaan. Kalau kamu yang suka belanja dan cari makan, semuanya ada di toko BBO dan BBO To Go. Semua ini bisa kamu bayar menggunakan BBO Pay, termasuk tagihan pulsa, internet, listrik, dan lainnya. Semuanya ada di BBO. Download sekarang.
Ketika kita ingin yang terbaik, hati dan pikiran kita malah dibuat jungkir balik. Ketika menginginkan ibadah dan finansial bisa selaras, mereka bilang gak akan bisa pas. Ketika ingin bebas dari riba, gak mungkin bisa lepas penuhnya. Bahkan jauh lebih riba katanya. Gak doyan bunga dibilang gak realistis. Punya rekening bank syariah dianggap gak praktis. Malahan bisa-bisa menghambat flow bisnis. Tapi apa kita akan berhenti dan menyerah gitu aja? Kita bisa pilih untuk maju terus, tetapkan ikhtiar di jalan yang lurus. Kini ketenangan bermuamalah ada di depan mata. Ibadah dan finansial kini jalan beriringan. Dan kesempatan meraih keberkahan dalam bertransaksi ada di genggaman. Hijrah Bank, tanpa riba, tanpa ribet.
Penciptaan kesejahteraan bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia adalah cita-cita kemerdekaan dan amanat perjuangan pendiri negeri. Namun setelah lebih dari 7 dekade merdeka, bebas dari kemiskinan dan keterbelakangan masih menjadi mimpi bagi puluhan juta rakyat negeri ini. Akar kemiskinan sejatinya bukanlah pada lemahnya si miskin, namun lebih pada struktur ekonomi dan politik yang tidak berpihak kepada si miskin. IDEAS, Institute for Demography and Poverty Studies, berdiri pada 2016 di bawah naungan Yayasan Dompet Duafa untuk berkhidmat pada kepentingan masyarakat Indonesia, khususnya masyarakat miskin dan marginal, dengan melakukan analisis kritis terhadap pembangunan dan kebijakan publik berbasis keindonesiaan dan keislaman. Analisis IDEAS berpijak pada keyakinan bahwa isu kemiskinan tidak dapat diselesaikan hanya dengan pendekatan individual, namun juga harus dengan pendekatan struktural. Dengan perspektif demikian, maka bidang kajian IDEAS terentang dari kemiskinan dan kesenjangan, kesehatan dan pendidikan, pembangunan pertanian dan pedesaan, perencanaan kota dan lingkungan hidup, keuangan negara dan kebijakan makroekonomi. Analisis IDEAS dipublikasikan dalam 6 seri kajian utama, yaitu Indonesia Poverty and Inequality Report, Agriculture and Rural Development Report, Urban and Sustainable Development Report, Indonesia Pro-Poor Budget Review, Indonesia Economic and Social Development Review, Islam Society and Social Change Review. Hanya dengan dialektika yang bervisi, kita dapat berharap masa depan yang lebih cerah untuk setiap anak negeri. Hanya dengan dialektika tanpa henti, kita dapat berharap penanggulangan kemiskinan menjadi arus utama kebijakan pembangunan negeri. IDEAS, Institute for Demography and Poverty Studies, menuju keadilan sosial bagi seluruh rakyat Indonesia.
Ketika kita ingin yang terbaik, hati dan pikiran kita.
Again, for all the sponsors and media partner, we would like to express our appreciation and gratitude for generously help us to make this event come true. Our sponsors are Pegadaian, BBO, Ines, Bank Mega Syariah, Dompet Duafa, ACT, Bank BTN Syariah, Inisiatif Zakat Indonesia, BMT Hidayatullah, Hijrah Bank, IDEAS, and our media partners are HMPS Perbankan Syariah, Event Jakarta, Event Nasional, Infokopedia, Info Lomba, Campus Update, Acara Kampus, and Enjoy Tasik. The next agenda, let's bow down our head in the presence of God and pray together. To the committee, you can take the lead.
Okay. Thank you for Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Before we close our event today, it's a good idea to read a prayer first. Al-Fatihah. Astaghfirullahaladzim, astaghfirullahaladzim, astaghfirullahaladzim. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حمدا نعيم حمدا شاكرا حمدا يوافي ويكافئ مزيدا يا ربنا لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك الكريم وعظيم سلطانك اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وذنوب والدينا ولجميع المسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب دعوات يا قاضي الحاجات اللهم إنا نسألك سلامة في الدين وعافية في الجسد وزيادة في العلم وبركة في الرزق وتوبة قبل الموت ورحمة عند الموت اللهم هون علينا في سكرات الموت والنجاة من النار وعفو عند الحساب اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل سبيل شئت سهلا اللهم إنا نسألك حسن الخاتمة اللهم ارزقنا توبة نصوحة قبل الموت اللهم يا مقلب القلوب ثبت قلوبنا على دينك ولا طاعتك والاستقامة ربنا نجنا من القوم الظالمين اللهم انصر من نصر الدين واهدم من خذل المسلمين اللهم سهل أمورنا وأمور والدينا وأمور برنامجنا هذا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وقنا عذاب القبور وقنا عذاب المحشر سبحانك ربك رب العزة عما يصفون والسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Amin, amin, ya rabbal alamin. Thank you for the committee. We hope this event will be beneficial for all of us. Again, I will remind you all to fill the attendance link in the chat box before this event ends and take screenshot of each material presentation as a proof of attendance on the attendance link. Now, I'm Rizky Marisa as the Master of Ceremony. It's been a wonderful chance for me to guide the second day of Sharia Economic Festival. And don't forget to join our last day of international webinar tomorrow. Let's close this event by reciting Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. From the deepest of my heart, I do apologize for my mistake in presenting this event. Thank you very much for your attention. The last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.